about right.
I think it's right about there.
Yeah. You think it's high, Doug?
I think so.
Jackson, where are you?
I've never heard of anyone who said, I just went to a sex party and the chicken was fabulous.
I think it's
I've never heard that.
I think it's right in the pocket. I think that number's pretty accurate.
Don't say right in the pocket.
I like that.
What's that
Put
mean?
it in the pocket.
But I think swingers
pocket.
parties would be lower, I think. Only for the
Sex
fact.
clubs higher, swingers party lower.
Yeah, because it seems like sex parties will let more people in, especially single guys. Swingers are not letting single guys in. And swingers parties, for the most part, do not have dinner. They don't have sides of chicken and
Doug, that's why we're going to
I'm
sex
not
parties.
interested in that anymore.
cheesecake. Yes, they'll have the couple in room 6 and 2 slices of cheesecake, please.
Oh,
God. Well, that's just not hot to me.
No, it's not.
no, and the guy who did the article said he went with his girlfriend. Why would you go with your girlfriend? Wouldn't that be where you'd go kind of single to do something else?
Arrangements.
If you got a girlfriend
Maybe girls
already,
like the girls.
No,
Time
there's-
to recruit.
No, they're probably swingers. You're looking for strange.
Don't say strange.
I kind of liked it. I thought it was a proper...
Randy Carricker with Ryan Kelly, who's one of the most philanthropic people in the St. Louis metro area. And Ryan, whenever I talk to you, you like to help people out.
Yeah, whether it's with your home loan or if there's something we can do to help you and your family in a tight spot, we got you. And I'll tell you, Randy, I started Home Loan Expert in 2009, so in the middle of a big recession and a big housing crash. And it was a startup. So like every other startup, I was doing 100-hour weeks. In fact, I still work a little too much, but that's all right. But after those first few years when Home Loan Expert really was taking off, we knew we had to do something. And that's where the giving back came from several years ago. Toy drives, climbing mountains, marching in the desert, all of that. Now we have a full foundation, keepclimbingfoundation.org. And you can learn more about our upcoming climbs there, and you can participate in some of our climbs. Come climb with us. We'd love that. And raise money for some great nonprofits out there. Learn more and get involved today at keepclimbingfoundation.org. That's keepclimbingfoundation.org.
Live from the Michelob Ultra Studios, KPNT FM HD2, Collinsville, St. Louis. This is TMA All Day. Rise and shine, St. Louis. It's the Ryan Kelly Morning After on KPNT FM HD2, Collinsville, St. Louis. At the Morning After STL on YouTube.
After, welcome to the Munganess St. Louis Acura Alton Toyota, 7 o'clock hour from the Michelob Ultra Studios. My name is Timothy Michael McKernan. Sitting across from me is Michael Wellington in for Douglas Elvin Vaughn. The Plowhawk is in here. Iggy is off today. Doug is off today. Jackson is ill and not here today. And so it's the three of us, and we'll get to know each other better.
What up, Booze?
I feel like I saw the ghost of Iggy earlier.
Is he haunting the hallways?
He was here. Is he really off?
I saw his
I think he comes in to get some work in, and then he takes the day.
He had Maitland at 3 a.m.
I was listening to Maitland's book as I came out here, as a matter of fact, Plowhawk. So far,
I wasn't.
I wouldn't.
Well, we're in the early goings. She just gotten turned down for a role with Saved by the Bell. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Strode, despite being off today, is in the studio. He's checking his phone to make sure it's off.
7:05 again.
How do you change? How do you not?
7:07 I got. You must be on Pacific.
How do you not get a Saved by the Bell bit?
Yeah, she didn't get it. I don't know if it went to Lark Voorhees or not, but we'll get to the bottom of that coming up in the Appliance Discounters 8 o'clock hour. In the meantime, friends, you can get involved. The Engineer Design Facilities text inbox, 314-881-TMA5. The phone lines are... Now, with Jackson not in, what do we do on the phone calls?
See, I can... The problem is we... And this might not be good to say on air because it'll invite the SADs.
Uh-oh.
But I can put them on, but I think in terms of vetting them, it would be a challenge. With even my mic off, you would have Wellington's mic picking up, what hot take they're going to want to hear about, or Iggy's mic. So, I mean, we can do it.
Here's what we
but
do.
We really have to trust our listeners today.
Here's what we do. We tell the listeners, all right, we're not going to know who you are. We're just going to bring you on. But we're going to write down the phone number. And if you call in and do something bad, like try to cuss or something, then we're going to give out your phone number.
Oh, Wellington, we have more breaking news. I am here. I am here. Now, but my camera is showing. I don't know if it's an old shot or I see the camera's just pointed in the corner.
Oh my God.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's pointed.
Move your chair.
Mike, yeah, I need to move. What in the world? I thought these cameras were not allowed to be touched. I thought those were union rules. Oh, look, the Plowhawk's moving it. It's like my refurbished Sibian. Now it's moving. Nurse. The anger in the
There you
text
go.
inbox over not being able to see me.
How often do you have to avoid the SADs when they call? Plowhawk? Really?
I do. I have to say, you are the Virgin Connie Swale. You have no idea. You have no idea. You have no
About the
idea.
SADs?
The angries, I'd call them. I guess
okay.
Pepper and Jeannie call them the SADs.
I think they go together.
I suppose if we were to break down a Venn diagram, yeah. I don't know. It's a unique dynamic. But
Isn't
yeah.
this entire program that just that?
Yeah, it's just, I suppose the show creates anger. I don't know what happened.
I think
but,
that looked good.
Let me see. I wasn't aware of it until there were 400 texts that came in that said you couldn't see me.
It's like we don't have Jackson and
There
we're
it
like
is.
lost. We're like lost puppies.
Let's see what we got. Oh, I got to tell you. It looks good, except it looks like I'm like Sybil Shepherd in Moonlighting being shot between a filter. Very obscure reference. I hope one of you got it. I don't know. I look like I'm like not in focus.
Well,
Wellington, you look wonderful. The Tennessee hat. Iggy's wearing the lumberjack. I know that'll lead to 1,000 texts. Plowhawk, you're studying the filter. Yeah, it looks like I'm out of focus. Or like somebody.
I think they're probably just like a smudge, right? Like
There's a smudge on there.
like on the camera, like it kind of looks like that. But we did it.
I don't know what happens here on the weekends.
I think it's
I
time
know,
you
I
guys,
wonder.
get a camera on Iggy's sock game because I've been here for now 3 days.
Got a sock game.
His sock game is A+.
It is strong.
I really don't
You
match
want to lift up your legs and let the ladies see? No, you don't.
Just let them know.
They're kind of gray and
What do you mean?
pink and green. And
There you go.
Very nice.
Pink and green. Those are the keys.
I got the reference, Tim. Your references really are the best. That's from a Newt Bowl eligible. Hey, guys, Tim's camera isn't working. We can't see Tim. Why are we seeing Drywell corner where Tim should be?
Again, Wellington, the SADs.
I can't believe people actually watch this on a camera. It's one thing
Currently,
to listen to on the radio.
102 people are watching, and we just went on the air. It usually goes to
incredible.
around 250 live stream, and then people go back and watch it. I got the YouTube stats, actually, for the, third quarter on Friday. Oh, hey, I'll tell you what. I enjoy watching long-form interviews on YouTube. The Stern Show, when he has an interview that I'm interested in, I'll watch it on my television. Yeah, so the Rizzuto Show, people watch that as well. I guess they're putting in cameras for all the stations, I think.
I must be old school. Just listen.
Just listen.
Always have.
So if you would like to watch, I am now on cam. However, we can't tell, but there is like some kind of filter. It's the Sybil Shepherd filter.
that back when Bruce Willis had hair, I believe.
That is correct, like 88. I don't know. Somebody will check on that. YouTube.com/TMASTL is where you can watch it. Subscribe to the page and come on in, and the water is warm. Doug is back on Wednesday. He is vacationing in the Hamptons. Jackson is ill, and the Plowhawk and Iggy are here for Pepper and Jeannie coming your way at 10 o'clock. Let's get right into it, boys. St. Louis, Banty, after the Cardinals are eliminated in 2 games. Now, while Iggy was out, Wellington and the Plowhawk and I were talking about it, I think I'm trying to theorize here as to why the anger is much more intense this year. I don't really even remember the 2020 playoffs at all. I believe the Dodgers won the World Series. I just don't really count it, for lack of a better term. But I guess because when people are like, the Cardinals just keep losing in the playoffs, and I go, they really haven't been there all that much in the last 7 years. But I guess the people include 2020. So, yes, if you include that, they lost to the Padres there. I'd kind of forgotten about it. 2019, they were swept by the Nationals, no offense, but they did beat the Braves in 5, and then they weren't in the playoffs in 16, 17, and 18. All right, so what I think the difference is this time, this is my theory, is you have a terrible loss in Game 1 that you're 2 outs away from winning to, be 1 win away from the next round, that has led to a lot of criticism of the manager. And then you also have no offense, and understandably, people are very critical of Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. I suppose what I would say with regards to the offense is I think because of what was going on with Albert Pujols in the month of August and September, that the struggles of the Cardinal offense you could see coming because they had been going on. And on 101, I made the comparison often to a team that was forgotten because they were swept out of the playoffs, the 2009 Cardinals. But now the parallel it's actually intersected. They have now gone on an exact collision course. The 2009 Cardinals were a great team, but they were terrible in September. The 2022 Cardinals, I don't know if they were a great team because they had a whole portion of the season in which they didn't really hit against bad teams in the month of September. They were a very good team, and they didn't play well in the month of September, just like the 2009 Cardinals, and both teams were swept out of the playoffs. So what happened offensively, especially when you include Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola in the mix, from my standpoint, wasn't all that surprising because this is what Paul Goldschmidt had been for the last month. But I don't think people were really paying attention to the Cardinals as a team, A, because of Pujols, and B, because there was no pennant race. They had already won the division, and there was really no fight for the second seed because they were so far back of the Braves and the Mets that they weren't going to get it. So I don't think people were really paying that close of attention. Some were, don't get me wrong. But I think the average Cardinal fan wasn't swept up in the team because there wasn't a whole lot to pay attention to, plus Albert Pujols was pursuing 700. But the Cardinal offense has been bad for a while, and Paul Goldschmidt has been bad for a while, and Nolan Arenado had not been up to snuff either in the month of September. So this, unfortunately, was something that was telegraphed. Michael, your reaction?
It's just so frustrating because I think even though everything you said is accurate with the lack of production in the offense, I think they still obviously had a chance to win Game 1, and then the momentum shift of what happened in the ninth inning. Plowhawk and I were talking before everybody got here. My question would be, if you knew that Helsley's hand was not right and you get lucky and get through the eighth inning, why do you let him come back out in the ninth? Now, I'm not going to act like that was my take. I called some people that are in the baseball world and experts, I would say, that know more about baseball than me, and they all, to a man, said the same thing. Why do you roll the dice with him again after you skated through the eighth inning? That's the one decision I think that I'd like to have over. And the other thing is that making decisions in any sport in high pressure situations is an art form. And I think some of the decision making, even though they weren't hitting, could have changed things.
So what would you have liked to have done? Because there are a few that are isolated. And I talked to members of the organization to see what people thought. So Quintana getting pulled in the sixth inning, scoreless game, 75 pitches. That is a decision that is scrutinized. Gallegos getting pulled after walking a hitter on 4 straight pitches in the eighth inning that then sets up Helsley to have to get 5 outs. That is a decision that is being scrutinized. And then the Helsley remaining in there, and I believe it was during the Harper at bat, where if you're watching, and I've gone back to watch it to try to isolate, that's where he missed Yadier Molina's glove so badly with 2 fastballs on 1-2 pitches that were way outside, way away from the target. That is where he lost what I believe is the feeling in his middle finger. So what decisions stand out to you, and what would you have done differently?
I think maybe, and it's easy to sit here and literally play Monday morning quarterback, but I think you could have brought Flaherty in the ninth. You could have brought Hicks in the ninth. You could have used
Hicks
both of
already
them.
pitched in the sixth.
Okay, well, I missed that part of the game. So my bad on that.
No, that's okay.
But Flaherty was up.
But Flaherty wasn't up until, because he struck out Rhys Hoskins.
Right.
And he had Harper, or he gave up a base hit to Real Muto. And so now you have 1 on, 1 out. And he had gotten through the eighth inning with no problem.
Palante wasn't up either. I don't think either of them were up.
Well, they got up.
They both got up, but late.
So when would you have gotten up Palante and Flaherty?
I think as soon as he walked somebody badly and missed with his pitches and went out there and said, you knew his finger was bad.
Yeah, let's talk about
so
the finger.
Go out and look at it.
Let's talk about the finger.
Don't wait until he's already given up a run.
So,
on the base.
but I mean, if we're going to do this, we got to actually stick to facts. So he had struck out Rhys Hoskins, and he had also gotten 2 outs in the eighth inning, and then he had given up a base hit, and then he had walked Bryce Harper. Okay, so that's when you pull him? That's when
I go out there and talk to him.
Okay.
And then get somebody up. I mean,
And
if you
Mike
knew he had a-
Maddox did go out there.
Did he go out after?
He went out there after he had walked.
I thought
Harper.
he waited another batter before he went out there. Then it went out again, and that's when they looked.
That's
at the
when they
finger and
yanked
pulled him. Yeah.
Right. And to me, the thing that stands out, Yadier Molina, I can't recall, but I mean, over his career, has spotted when pitchers aren't right. And I'm surprised he didn't, along with Marmol, along with Maddox. Because if you're watching that game, you have to see that, missing a location is one thing, but then he missed him so badly, and it was all with the fastball. And that's why he just kept trying to go, just keep, but that's why he started going more breaking ball. And his at bat against Schwarber in the 8th, the first 3 pitches were breaking balls. And that's unique for Helsley. It was kind of a meta game. And then against Harper, Molina goes out there. Now, what I thought Molina was doing, because I watched this again to try to figure out what's going on. Marmol is smirking. Now, I know this will turn people off, and I shouldn't even use that term because I know smirking has a negative connotation. But he's kind of, if you watch, he's smiling when Molina returns back to the plate. And here is what I believe he thought was going on. And if you go back and watch it, if you want to torture yourself, I believe that he was going out there, and then Yachty, you can see him looking up. I believe he was trying to buy time for the sun to come out from behind the clouds so they would have the shadows again. Because when Harper was up, the cloud had covered the shadows. Because the Cardinals were at an advantage there because they had the shadows, and it was kind of a double shadow. And so Marmol, I think, was kind of smirking because he thought Yachty was going out there to buy time for the sun to come out from behind the shadows. I know this sounds like insanity.
No.
But this is so he isn't even thinking at that time that something could be off. What again stands out to me is for as great as Yadier Molina was throughout his career, and I'm not putting this on Yadier Molina. This is on, from my standpoint, Helsley, the manager, the pitching coach, that he doesn't spot it. Because if you watch it, I mean, he missed badly on Harper. Now, Harper's 1-2. Wasting a pitch out of the zone is about as ABC poker as you can get. But then he missed badly again. And then his pitch on 3-2 was so bad that Harper didn't even have a sweat. He just laid his bat down, and he's going to first base. So that is where all hell starts really breaking loose for the Cardinals, is the Harper at bat, because that's where I believe, after he had him 1-2, I believe he lost the feeling in his middle finger for the fastball. And at that point, you saw the results going forward.
Do we know if his finger was in a bad situation or before the ball game? Or did that just happened while he was pitching? Does anybody know that?
Yeah, he got hurt on Tuesday in Pittsburgh.
So
then they had him throw on Thursday, and it was fine. And then he pitched in the 8th inning, and obviously it was fine. So the issue is that, I suppose it would have been, quote-unquote, good if it would have happened in the 8th inning. And then you take your pick of whomever for the 9th inning. The problem is it didn't happen until the Harper at-bat. And so then the Cardinals didn't have anybody up, and why would they? I mean, he had struck out Hoskins. It's not like Hoskins is some butt-ass. Real Muto got a base hit. That's not like a rare thing. It was kind of a bloop hit to left field. And that's when things got rough. That's when he lost feeling in his finger. And so in talking with some people with the Cardinals, they place the onus on Helsley to not be transparent. Helsley's explanation is, yeah, it sucked, but you want to compete through it. And
I get that.
And so that is the thing that I think.
But sometimes,
if you can't control your fastball, and he could not control his fastball, he is now. I mean, he's neutered as far as his effectiveness.
Don't you think?
And he obviously hit a batter to drive in a run with a hit and bone.
If he knows that he's hurt, doesn't he have to? I mean, I know he wants to play and he competes and he wants to be a competitor, but don't you have to put your teammates in front of yourself and say, hey, plus how many times has he gone 2 innings this year? He's a 1-inning guy.
He had gone 2 innings on September 27th, and he had gone 2 innings against the Brewers in August, and he had pitched 1 1/3 multiple times. But as far as 2 innings go,
Just wasn't a regular thing.
it wasn't a regular thing, but he had done it the night they clinched in Milwaukee.
I'll say it, we'd be playing Game 3, boys, if Quintana actually stays in the game. I don't get all of this. It's a 3-game series. This isn't the College World Series or Little League World Series where you take a guy out early so you can start him again in Game 3. You weren't going to use him for 10 days. Regardless, you probably weren't going to use him for a week or 10 days. You ride that horse until you find water. I mean, 75 pitches, take him to 115. It makes no sense. This is a guy that you brought in. He's a veteran. He's not a coddled prospect that you're looking for an 8 to 10 year commitment out of the guy. This is a guy who's pitching 1 game this entire series, in which you don't even know if you're going to get to the next series. Taking him out is just the nerds taking over baseball, playing situations, strategies, being cute. I miss the 70s and 80s. You think Nolan Ryan coming out of that game? You think
Never.
Pedro Martinez coming out of that game? You think Bob Gibson coming out of that game? Hell no. It's a rookie manager. It's terrible decisions, and the reason why the Cardinals are out is because you take out Jose Quintana when he is absolutely dealing. It made 0 sense. You can say righty, you can talk the matchups until you're blue in the face. It made no sense, and that is why you just got swept by the Phillies. Jose Quintana should have stayed in there. Then you can worry about Helsley not getting a 5-out save. You just open up your bullpen so much, you may not even need to pitch Helsley. You may just take Gallego 2 innings if you wait to take Quintana out in the 7th, middle of the 7th. Now you have Gallego coming in. You got Palante potentially.
Well, they're not happy.
Taking him out's a joke.
You goofs. We didn't even score a run. Helsley is irrelevant. He didn't cost us anything. That's from Scissor Me Timber.
No, you scored
Yes,
2
he
runs.
did.
You're actually winning 2-0 going into the 9th, so I don't know what you mean by they didn't score any runs.
Scissor Me Timbers. You're welcome to call in. Plowhawk will be handling the phones. Jackson is ill today. 636-9004-TMA. 636-9004-TMA. Jose Quintana, for the record, when he was yanked, had allowed 2 hits, struck out 3, and walked 1.
2 hits.
For the record, Marmol's logic was, number 1, that they didn't want the 2 right-handed hitters, Hoskins and Real Muto, to see him a 3rd time, that his effectiveness a 3rd time through the lineup with back-to-back right-handers was what he wanted to avoid. That's why he faced Schwarber, and then they pulled him. And that is the reasoning. Let's see. Quintana pitched 8 innings on the 17th against the Reds, and that is, in his time with the Cardinals, the longest he had pitched. He had pitched 6 innings, 6 2/3 against the Dodgers on September 23rd. So this, to me, screamed when they pulled him that this was the plan no matter what. That's what I believe. Now, I could be wrong, but that was okay. Here is the deal. The deepest he goes into the game is through Schwarber. So then that way we don't have him facing Hoskins, Real Muto back-to-back. That's a 3rd time. That's what I believe. Now, people are welcome to disagree with it, but that is because it's not like he was in trouble. He got Schwarber, and then that was the end of his day.
If the score was 5-0, I think it's the same thing.
I don't know.
But, you can put logic into play, and I guess I get that. But what's the logic of a 50% closer with a jam finger getting a 5-out save, which happens maybe 3 times in the season of Helsley? I would rather have Quintana go out, face the order for the 3rd time, face the 2 righties, as opposed to my idea of having Helsley have to pitch 2 innings, get 5 outs, knowing he's not 100%. That, to me, is not logic. So if you want to use logic in the 6th, why aren't you using it in the 9th? To me, it's too cute. It's not regular season baseball anymore. This is the playoffs. Even if you don't want to pitch, even if Quintana goes 115, 120 pitches and you can't use him in the next series, that's why you have Jack Flaherty. That's why you have Adam Wainwright. That's why you have Hudson. You can ease into that start and have him take a day off. That was the most important game of the entire series with Game 1, and you take your ace out after 75 pitches, allowing 2 hits. You can throw logic all you want and explain to me, but then you go out and throw Helsley for 2 innings. There is no logic. It was just
It was a debacle.
It was It was a managerial embarrassment.
Game one was a debacle. I think we'd all agree. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see anything in game one except the ninth inning, which was just grand. But still, they had a chance to bounce back. I felt like game two, which I was able to watch every pitch, give the Phillies some credit defensively. They were really good.
Noah's so good.
And he was outstanding.
Well, you could have had Hicks come back out and start the inning. You could have went longer with Gallegos. I mean, you let Helsley pitch the ninth inning. I mean, it's not like Gallegos was struggling. He walked a batter. Hicks looked good. He only pitched 2/3. I mean, this guy was a starter. It's not like he can't go more than an inning. So there's two things you could have done right there if you want to take Quintana. I'm not getting against the righties. Thing is, if all of that would have happened and it backfired, we'd be talking about the same thing. Quintana faces two righties, gives up 2 base hits or a base hit and a home run. I was tied. Oh, he should have got out against the righties. I mean, that's the way it's going to work. That's the way it's going to go.
I don't know. With the stat line he had out there, I don't know if I would question bringing him, regardless of what may have happened. Yeah, people would be pissed. But it's not like he had 100 pitches and there was a guy on first and second, and maybe you take he was cruising and all that. And I don't like having your manager, having a decision of what you're going to do before the game even starts. Baseball crazy. You can say, I only want him to throw 6 innings. But how that went going, you need to change that up. I don't care if you have a game plan 4 hours before first pitch. The game evolves, and you just got to kind of roll with
2
it.
hits.
I know we said we'd only pitch him 6 innings, but look at the situation we're in right now. I think we got to give him another inning. You got to be able to change things on the fly as opposed to having something set at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's what you're going to do.
Well, Tim brought up the fact of the matter is other than 2 pinch hitters, his team didn't score a run.
Yeah, that's the problem, too.
Goldschmidt, it's just
lost.
That was the one. Arenado hit the ball hard.
He did.
Now, he did strike out in some critical spots on Saturday, but Goldschmidt was the one. Now, because their stat lines basically look the same, but if you watched their at-bats, Nolan Arenado thought, as did I, by the way, that he had a home run in game one. And it kind of wasn't even close. I guess it barely got to the warning track. And the look on his face and his comments post-game were the first time I go, oh, maybe he isn't 100% going to stay in St. Louis. And I had never thought that. In 101 ESPN, they've been obsessed with him opting out. But he goes, yeah, it's just this ballpark. This ballpark is just, it's weird and it's tough to hit home runs here. He crushed that ball. Albert Pujols' first at bat on Friday crushed a ball. Didn't get to the warning track. And Arenado talked about it. He said the fact that we had Albert's ball 103 miles an hour off the bat, and mine was 107 miles off, and they didn't go out. He goes, this ballpark, it's weird. And I know
it was colder that day.
It's colder. It's just the way that the park, it's a tough place to hit. That's the core issue. And Arenado crushed that ball off of Wheeler, and that was eye-opening for him. And for me as a fan, and I would imagine people watching the game off the bat, if you can take yourself back to it, he had crushed that ball. On the other side of things, Paul Goldschmidt, I don't know if he was injured. It was so not what we had seen from Paul Goldschmidt. It was almost like having the yips. And I realize that's not what it was because it's not, putting or throwing from second base or pitching like Ankiel. But, God, they basically threw a ball in the dirt on a 3-2 pitch on Saturday night, and he just went for it. He was so lost. And by the way, and I know it's not in vogue to compliment national broadcast, but, God, I thought Alex Rodriguez was Tony Romo-esque with what he was seeing in advance. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, he was, trying to call everything.
And he was on what they were doing, what the pitches were going to be, the play. But he called the pickoff play before the Cardinals pulled it off and the Phillies tried to run it. I mean, it was going, God, not only does this guy have athletic ability, but he, clearly knows the game at a mental level that I didn't realize because it's not like I'm watching Sunday Night Baseball. That was really impressive.
He did have his go-to saying that I think he said 5 times, kind of like Steckel in his...
quick as a hiccup?
Quick as a hiccup. Here's the matchup you want. Get your popcorn.
Yeah, he did
you're going to like this. Get your popcorn. all right, you got the get your popcorn. I'm like, I actually tweeted. I said, stop, right? I'm gonna get fat eating all this popcorn.
Was that game 1 or 2 with the popcorn?
1. It was,
I didn't.
but they weren't bad. I liked it.
His insight into what was going to happen. I was impressed, and I kind of went into it going, I don't really, I don't care one way or the other. But with regards to Goldschmidt, that was stunning. He had been bad in the month of September, by his own words, but it was at a point that if they would have somehow won the game on Saturday and he had nothing to do with it, I think they would have had to have considered either moving him down in the lineup or not playing him. And I know they wouldn't have not played him, but it is the reason why they lost the series. If you have an MVP perform like that, and you score a grand total of, I guess, 3 runs. I think people may forget that they scored a run in the 9th inning when the Phillies were kind of in a prevent defense mode, up 6-2, right in the middle of your order. What are you going to do? And he couldn't even really make contact. Arenado, again, didn't, by definition, hit well, but he was at least hitting the ball. Goldschmidt was just flailing, and that part overall surprised me. The Cardinals not hitting, if you've been watching the team when they don't play the Reds and the Pirates and the Cubs and the Nationals, this has been a problem. That's why I wanted to see them go out and get offense at the trade deadline. But this issue with Goldschmidt was, to me, if you're going, what's the reason why the Cardinals lost to the Phillies, I'd put it on Paul Goldschmidt, number one. Now, what goes on in St. Louis, because I've been doing television and radio here since 2000, so now I've seen it and I've just play out, is that you blame the manager, and that's the song and dance. So I've seen it long enough, and he certainly gave people plenty of red meat on Friday afternoon, but the team scored 3 runs, so there's your core issue.
Now I know a lot of players will guess. I think he's got to throw a slider here. I know he's got to come with a fastball. They'll guess, and sometimes but it looked like Goldschmidt just guessed on every pitch. All right, they're going to throw me a slider.
You're exactly right.
And all right, they're going to throw me a fastball. I'm going to swing at everything. And he guessed wrong on every pitch. A lot of players say he's going to throw me this, and you hold, you can see the spin. Okay, it's not that. So you hold up on it. He's swinging at everything, guessing on every pitch.
Does Arenado come back?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Oh, you don't think he's coming back, Lyle?
I don't think so.
Wow. I think...
And I wouldn't be surprised if he did come back either. But
so which one is it?
I don't think he will come back.
Wow.
I think he's going to get his money other places.
I actually think he will... I don't know. He may, by definition, opt out, and I think he will renegotiate what is a longer-term deal with the Cardinals. That's what I think. I would like him to say, hey, let's spend some money and get some offense. When the Cardinals lost to the Nationals in 2019, it was offense. It was offense. I guess I don't know. To me, to count 2020 in a macro evaluation of a franchise is misguided, and I'd include that with any team, not just the Cardinals. It just was so different. 2021, what happened? They lost 1-0 to the Dodgers. Again, it's 9 innings, or in that case, I think it went to extras. Or 2-1, whatever the hell it was. It's offense. You look at the outfield.
Awful.
And Paul DeYoung's on the roster. I realize he didn't start, but he's on the roster. He can't hit. These were things that we did talk about on both 101 ESPN and Balloon Party going into the season. I recall down the hallway, I was just lit up. I'm going, just because Tyler O'Neill had a good year last year, and Bader and Carlson, they haven't done this long term. There is a chance that the good is the outlier. Sometimes the good is the outlier. The Cardinals starting outfield of Bader, Carlson, and O'Neill that they were so high on in spring, 2 of them weren't even starting on Sunday night or Saturday night. One's in New York, and one didn't make the starting lineup. The guy who John Mozeliak walked up to in July and said, don't worry, you're not getting traded. He couldn't crack the starting lineup. The guy who the Cardinals didn't want to go out and pursue a shortstop for didn't start. Paul DeYoung. And now you have the holes of catcher. That's a real situation there. Albert Pujols became their best hitter, which sounds like a joke, but he did in the second half of the season, in the month of September for certain, and was their number 2 hitter. He'll be gone. And I don't know on Adam Wainwright. that is, as he said, you could read that one of two ways: that he didn't like not being in the playoff rotation, that it's something that's my sign to be done, or that I'll use it as motivation to never happen again. I'm still not sure on him. If you said you got to bet $100 whether or not he's back, I would really have to be in the tank long term. Point being, though, the Cardinal lineup is going to look materially different when opening day rolls around next year. And it should, but it has to just by default because Pujols and Molina won't be in there. I would imagine Tyler O'Neill, I realize he was in the Arizona Fall League this weekend, not in St. Louis, will be gone. I just think he's either traded or I think at some point Jordan Walker has to be playing on this team.
It better be late March.
And they have monster question marks in the outfield. And so, therefore, you were relying on 3 bats going into that series, and 2 of them had been struggling for the entire month of September. And then you compound it with facing 2 very good pitchers. But they had been struggling, and they played a lot of crappy teams in September. So it wasn't just a case of going up against Nolas and Wheelers throughout September. That's what it was. If you look at the month of September, there were a lot of butt asses in there, minus when they went to San Diego and Los Angeles, and they just weren't hitting. So the Goldschmidt thing, and I just don't think it's his style, if he is hurt, to talk about it, but that was so weird, how lost he looked, you know. Surprisingly, Arenado hit the ball damn hard a couple of times, more than a couple of times. One time that I thought was a home run because he hadn't been hitting well, but, you know, bottom line is it didn't get done, and the Cardinals scored a grand total of 3 runs. Their runs came from non-starters. Yepes wasn't starting, and Gorman wasn't starting, and those are the 3 guys who drove in runs.
Yeah, both pinch hitters driving the runs. Now, you know, I think they'll go out and get Contreras as their catcher. They need an outfielder. I mean, we're going back to other than Fowler and Ozuna, the 2 pickups that were out of necessity, as Fowler was, but. Yeah, you go back to the Grichuk-Piscotty days when they kept going with these guys. You know, we got our youngsters. And they
Grichuk, Piscotty, and Pham were supposed to be the outfield.
Yeah.
And then that didn't work. And then when it didn't work, they go, God, we got to get an outfielder. Let's get Stanton. Stanton didn't want to move to St. Louis. They said they weren't trading Yelich, and that's how you trade Alcantara and Gallen for Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, so you have the same situation here where we got our youngsters, and you tell Dylan Carlson you're going nowhere.
That's,
you know, O'Neill, Bader. I mean,
the Dylan Carlson thing going to maybe ruin the outfield and the Cardinals moving forward because the pressure you put on him. So you tell him we're not trading you for Juan Soto. That gives Carlson at least 2 to 3 full years to figure it out. He has digressed so much from last year to this year, and you have to play him now. You basically are dedicating your next 2 or 3 years to seeing and hoping that this guy pans out. And I think Arenado is opting out because you look at how many holes are going to be in this lineup. I mean, you definitely have to replace a catcher. You need another outfielder. You need maybe another starter, depending on if they sign, you know, Quintana or Montgomery long term. It doesn't matter. You have Goldschmidt that may be on the tail end of it, and you have the Dodgers. Turner's a free agent. They got unlimited money. You're playing in a great hitters park in a fun division. And they just won 111 games. I just don't see why Arenado, unless he is going to make 10 or 15 more million a year this year, or he gets a huge long-term deal in St. Louis, why would he stay here? I mean, there's so much pressure on him now, more than what it was in the last 2 years.
Well, he likes playing here. I mean, that's something.
He does, and I don't say the fans don't love him to death, but
for $12 million more, he'd go anywhere, I would imagine.
Yeah, like the Dodgers are going to overpay for a infielder, and I think if you can get Arenado on a 3 or 4 year deal at $30 a year, I don't know if the Cardinals would do that or match that. And I think Arenado is going. I think this offseason you better open up a blank checkbook because you have so many pieces to fill, and they won't. But Jordan Walker will be up in June when they're 5-6 games under 500, kind of breezing through a crappy division. Just rinse, wash, repeat, man.
I think Wainwright retires only because of what the last month was. I think he's the kind of guy that would hate to come back and say, now, if I start off the year the way I ended the year, I can't go through the whole year like that. And then he's going to decide it's time to retire after 1 month. I think he retires.
Your thoughts are welcome. 314-881-TMA5. That is how you can get involved. Engineer Design Facilities, sponsor of our text inbox. And you are also welcome to call in to the Steve Schmidt Key of North County phone line 636-9004-TMA, or email in for our Design Air Heating and Cooling email of the day, the morning after, at InsideSTL.com. Design Air Heating and Cooling, sponsor of our email of the day. Doug's a client. I'm a client. Say, friends, why don't you become a client as well? They're online at DesignAirService.com. Get your furnace checked out because we have lows in the 20s next week. Yes, indeed. Lows in the 20s a week from tomorrow, Michael.
So terrible.
Yep. It's going to be mid-October, and you got that in the forecast. So, well, make sure the furnace is working, and you do so by going to DesignAirService.com and click on the Book Now tab, and then you schedule a maintenance check for your furnace, and that takes about 24 seconds because I did it. And you can go ahead and work with the best, and the best is Seth Goldcamp and Design Air Heating and Cooling online at DesignAirService.com. That's Design Air Heating and Cooling online at DesignAirService.com, the official HVAC provider of the Ryan Kelly Morning After. James Carlton is my insurance agent. I would like to recommend him to our audience. Life insurance. James' team has a simple, non-threatening approach to life insurance. They ask a few simple questions. If you didn't make it home tomorrow, what would you want to happen? Do you currently have plans in place to make that happen? Would you like to see how inexpensive it can be to make sure what you want to happen will happen, even if you were not here to see it happen? Although the worst is unlikely, none of us would leave the driveway without strapping our little tykes into a car seat. Life insurance is no different. Although it's not likely that you don't make it home tonight, it's not a risk worth taking when it comes to providing for your loved ones. State Farm is the #1 provider of term life insurance in the U.S. Call James Carlton at 314-961-4800 or apply online at carltoninsurance.net. If your insurance costs a leg and an arm, call James Carlton, State Farm. It is 7:45 in St. Louis. Tim McKernan, Mike Wellington in for Doug Vaughn, who is vacationing in the Hamptons. Kenneth Iggy Strode, the Plowhawk, with you. Jackson is ill today, and that means Matt Rocchio will be working with me on Balloon Party today on 101 ESPN. We are in the Michelob Ultra Studios. Michelob Ultra, 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs, and the sponsor of the Lemmings Open, the Dotem, and the Fan Page Club Championship. Michelob Ultra, it's only worth it if you enjoy it. Michelob Ultra, studio sponsor here on TMA. All right, let me go into some of the texts. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Scissor Me Timbers is back. Welcome to the conversation, Boots. Of course we need outfield help. We've needed it for a while, and we scored 2 runs. You tampon? We lost 2-0. The big 0-looking number indicates no runs. That's from Scissor Me Timbers.
Yep.
What are you talking about? we were talking about the first game. They scored 3 runs.
Let's see. Let's see. Wrong points, Plowboy. Turner's a free agent in 2024. Nolan would make $35 million with the Cardinals if he opts in. That's from the North County Turkey Neck.
I mean, dude, I would take a pay cut to live in L.A. and win playoff games. That's just... If I'm Arenado, I'm looking at I have to carry this team again. We're not. Dylan Carlson ain't helping you. Nolan Gorman is an average player. Jordan Walker, for other reasons outside of him actually being good enough to play, they'll find reason to extend his arbitration and play him in May and June. And I just don't. I just see way too much pressure for a guy in the latter stage of his career, where he really just wants to win. He said that in several conversations. His goal is to win, go deep in the playoffs, and win World Series. And this organization does have a rich history. But outside, like after 2015, check out the postseason record. Check out the last 5 wild card series we've been in. We are garbage in terms of recent playoff memories. And to see Nolan Arenado go out in a wild card series 3 or 4 more times in his career, and that's your swan song, I think if I'm in his people and in his camp, I would be chirping in his ear about, what this team has done in recent memory and what you could probably do and get with about 5 or 6 other organizations that would obviously be just fine paying Nolan Arenado 30 or 35
Wouldn't he have known that before he signed this year? Or before they traded him? Wouldn't he have told him this team hasn't done well in the playoffs.
Well, if you look at the roster construction, it wasn't awful when he came here. You have Goldschmidt.
Yeah, you probably thought he could
you
win.
have young players. You thought Dylan Carlson was going to be much more than an 8-home run, 240 hitter. I just think there was a lot of hope, and obviously you are making good money, but I'm looking at the writing on the wall. I don't see who's coming in to be the savior, and you're just seeing other guys get older and have diminished stats, and you got 4 or 5 holes to fill in that offense and pitching in the offseason. That's a lot of moving parts.
For the record, with regards to Justin Turner, it's a Dodgers team option.
Thank you. So suck it, please. Just go on. My God, you sad bats.
Well, he's technically not a free agent then if the Dodgers going to...
Have you seen Turner? They ain't bringing Turner back for that price. If it was a player.
It's a $16 million option.
Yeah, if it was a player option, he's signing it today.
And I think that's what they do with Arenado. I think they add a year to the contract and maybe give it a Cardinals option for the final year. He can buy out at $15-20 million. So I think
I could see that.
I would be surprised if he weren't a Cardinal next year, but I don't think he will have the same deal and just go, I'll opt in because he can go make more money, and he's only taken care of through age 36 with his deal. So it would be irresponsible on his part to not capitalize on the market. And I realize, that most Cardinal players play for the fans and not the money. But in this case, I think he is going to capitalize on it, and I would imagine the Cardinals sign him to some semblance of a new deal or an extension. That is what I believe will wind up happening. Just for the record, with regards to Nolan Arenado, in 2023, he's making $35 million. In 2024, $35 million. 2025, $35 million. 2026 or $32 million, 2026, $27 million, 2027 is $15 million, and that was a year the Cardinals added on prior to the 2021 season after they acquired him. So, he's taken care of through 2027, but my guess is, realizing it is likely that his production declines over those years, most likely, especially for a guy who's a defensive player, at least one of the best defensive players. It's not all he does. That he would like to lock up a couple of extra years on the back end. He has $166 million due to him, and he can probably get that increased by 20 to 25%. And so, if you're Nolan Arenado, why wouldn't you do that? And if the Cardinals aren't going to do it, somebody else would. But my belief is the Cardinals will do that. But the Cardinals have other holes to fill besides Nolan Arenado. Plowboy, do a little research. The new CBA change to help the player from service time manipulation. That's from Conclusion, the stripper.
But yeah, you can still manipulate it by not making the roster at the beginning of the season. I know it's less time than what it has been, but and they took a year less off, but you can still manipulate service time. Still, it's not like they've completely eliminated that. Jordan Walker should have made the freaking postseason roster and been the starting left fielder without a damn at-bat in the major leagues. Just because you see what the outfield has done. And so Arenado's looking at Kisner as a starting catcher, potentially. You still have Edmund and Donovan and Yepes. It's like journeymen who have had good years, but if you're looking at that roster, it's like, I got to carry this squad. Why would I do that? I should go play with Mookie Betts and all these other boys with a sick 4-man rotation.
By the way, that's a terrible name for a stripper.
Conclusion.
Yeah. Who's going to go see that?
I like punctuation.
Now, stage 2, Conclusion. What?
Todd Reesing's not happy with the Plowhawk. You remember him? He was sacked in the end zone at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
Now, listener, what the F is wrong with Darren? Dude doesn't think about anything he says. That's from Todd Reesing.
Well, I was right about the Turner thing, so he does have a Dodger option, which they won't sign. Arenado grew up a Dodgers fan.
Is that right?
They won 111 games. They're in need of a third baseman. They have unlimited funds, and they have playoff success. I'm sorry, I get that. Yeah, 06 and 11. In 2011, I get it. But look at the last 5, 6, 7 years in the playoffs. There is nothing but losing. And if you it's a track record of Jeff Albert and rookie managers with yes men to Mozeliak. That's like the last 6 years. That's what it's been. Schilt, Matheny, Ollie Marmol, they're all one and the same personality. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jeff Albert. Yep. Bust out the same offense. We're looking at a rinse, wash, repeat season almost every year. And I just don't know. And I know Arenado loves the fans, loves the organization. But he doesn't need $35 million a year. He wants a couple rings. He wants a deep playoff run. He wants a legacy attached to it. And I don't know if St. Louis can offer that in the next 3 or 4 years. What has it shown that that can happen? Flaherty's about to be gone. Yachty's gone. Pujols isn't gone. You have really a garbage outfield, and you have great prospects that you refuse to call up. And you refuse to trade as well, which is super weird.
Well, Arenado's a guy that, like you said, if he really does want to win, if that's the top of his list of things to do before he retires, then he's going to have the option to go to a couple different winners, and certainly not getting it done in St. Louis right now.
Your thoughts are welcome. 314-881-TMA5. Cardinal discussion here in the Munganess St. Louis Acura Alton Toyota. 7 o'clock hour, that is Munganess, stlouisacura.com, altontoyota.com. Sponsor our 7 o'clock hour on the Ryan Kelly Morning After, the official automotive provider of TMA. And I received an email from a listener this weekend. Couldn't have been, as a matter of fact, yesterday. Let's see what I got here. Hey, Tim, wanted to write about my 5-star experience with Clayton Peter Munganess at St. Louis Acura. Clayton Patterson and Peter Munganess at St. Louis Acura. I went on Thursday evening and met with Clayton and Peter and explained what I wanted to do. Peter showed me the Subaru we originally wanted to look at, but it was not meant to be, just not big enough with us. Peter sat down and went through their inventory and pulled several cars before we found what we thought we would like, 2019 Honda Pilot EXL with low mileage. After driving it, we were pretty sure it was one for us, but not 100% sold. No worries, Clayton said. Take it home, drive it for a day or two, sleep on it, and come see Peter and him Saturday morning, but not too early so you can catch the kids' soccer game, which is awesome to hear. My wife and I thought on it and decided if the numbers worked out this way, this was the car for us. The finance manager was awesome. He did not try to nickel and dime us, very forward rate and on the warranties. We got in Saturday morning to meet with Peter, fill out the paperwork, and in and out in an hour. My wife hates car shopping and actually said how great this experience was. Clayton, Peter, and the Munganess team have earned a customer, and I will make sure to tell everyone I know about this great experience. I just wanted to share this great experience with the sponsor, with you. Have a great week. That comes from Scott. So make sure you are working with the sponsors, stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. It is Munganess. Here is Adam Wainwright with the sound that I was talking about a little earlier here in a Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Alton Toyota, 7 o'clock hour following the Game 2 loss on Saturday.
I'll tell you this, I don't like not pitching in a playoff series. And so you could take that one of two ways. You could take that as it's been a good run, or you could take that as motivation to never let that happen again.
There it is. So what do you think there?
He's just angry because they lost.
Why was he? And I don't want to pile on, but
he was smiling when he said it. I saw the interaction. They showed the whole press conference, or not press conference. They were in the clubhouse.
Well, you're 40-something years old. You really don't have control over. I'm not going to let that happen again. You know, you come back and you pitch bad in September again, and you're going to be in the same situation. So, unless you think you're going to come back in your 40s and have a stellar year where you're number 1 or 2, I don't know.
Now, Tim, you talk a lot in the past, more so I think with the Matheny era, about the scholarship players. You know,
I forgot. Shelby Miller was on scholarship. Edward Mejica was on a scholarship.
What was the reasoning? And I absolutely love Adam Wainwright, a great clubhouse guy. So if that's the reason why he made the first round roster in the wild card, I kind of understand that. But what was the reasoning for him making that roster in the wild card? Because there's zero situation for him to pitch in that series. Am I correct? Even if it goes like 15, 16 innings.
Brad Thompson shared your opinion when I was doing the fast lane last week. He said if he's not starting, I don't see a spot for him on the roster. And then the roster came out Friday morning, and he was on it, as was DeYoung. And as things played out, now, the reason, though, is totally different than what the information that the Cardinals had on Friday morning. The reason that he was going to be in a spot where he was saying he might close out the game, that's what his mindset was. He was going to be closing out the game on either Saturday night or Sunday, was because of the Helsley injury. But that was new information that took place when Helsley re-injured that finger Friday afternoon. And so, as it also turned out, the Cardinals used Quintana on Friday with Flaherty up and throwing in the 9th inning, and then had Michaelis and Montgomery. So if that series would have went to a third game, I guess again, you don't know how things play out, but I guess Flaherty would have gotten the ball, and then Wainwright would have been that. I say with virtual certainty, but I mean, again, how does game 2 play out? Because clearly they were planning on using Flaherty out of the bullpen on Friday, and if that's the case, he can't start on Sunday. But then that may change the direction they go on Saturday night. And by the way, I know it didn't wind up hurting him, but this is kind of the nature of postseason analysis. It's like the Harrison Mevis. Well, he shouldn't have kicked the field goal. Why? Well, he missed the field goal, but he would make it. So you just kind of go, okay, this is what we got. But Miles Michaelis getting pulled, I thought got pulled early on Saturday. If we're going to talk about Quintana getting pulled early, then I thought, again, and I think that one, you can make a case, was even more dangerous because you knew you didn't have Helsley. And so how are you going to get from the 5th inning through the 9th inning? And then how are you going, and if you're talking about, of course, the goal is to win the series, how are you going to get through game 3 if you don't really have Helsley and you've got now Wainwright and Flaherty, but they might have to pitch on Saturday night? I thought that was surprising. I realized he was in trouble. Quintana was not in trouble, but you also thought that you had Helsley. And I thought that they were stretching themselves there, considering the fact that, but again, it didn't wind up playing a role in the loss, so it doesn't really get much attention. But that one surprised me. And I don't think Michaelis was irritated that he was pulled, probably because he was told it was going to be Michaelis and Montgomery working together. But considering you knew you didn't have Helsley on Saturday night, and you knew you would have to have a starter on Sunday, but a bullpen stretched thin because Michaelis wouldn't be available, Montgomery wouldn't be available, Quintana wouldn't be available, and I would say Helsley wasn't going to be available on Sunday. I have no idea what the plan would have been there. And I realize you just got to win to get there, but by pulling Michaelis in the 5th inning, you were really putting yourselves in a spot for both Saturday's game and if there was going to be Sunday's game. But again, the bottom line on the whole discussion is the team just didn't hit, which is unfortunately what went on throughout the course of the month of September. Let's see what he as in Waino, since they used Michaelis and Montgomery in game 2. He as in Waino. Oh, if Flaherty pitches in game 1, he would have pitched game 3. He as in Waino. Yes. Well, there's no question.
Well,
there would not have been anybody else. So that was. But I mean, again, I assume everybody listening to the show saw that Flaherty was up and throwing, and Marmol said he would have gone to Flaherty if there were 2 outs, but Segura's not a strikeout guy and he's a ground ball guy, and then that gets into the discussion of where the infield was positioned. Now, one of the things, and I'm talking about in the Segura ball, you're not turning. Well, I mean, I suppose I can't say it with certainty, but I would operate on about 95% confidence level. And Paul Goldschmidt said this because he was a former teammate of Segura, and that's when Segura was younger and faster. So let's make sure we include that in there. I don't think the ball that Segura hits is a double play, and I feel like that has become a discussion. Is that that if they were double play depth, or if they weren't at the infield in the X. Defensive positioning, that they turn a double play there, and I just don't agree with that. That is, for those who are wondering about that decision, they weren't in, but they weren't at double play depth either. It's called X positioning, and it's something that the Cardinals employ, that if the ball is hit soft, they can go home with it, and if the ball is hit hard, you can double them up. And that ball was not a double play ball. It was a ball that Edman unfortunately moved the wrong way initially, and then it slid under his glove. But that I don't believe you double up Segura on that ball. But I know that that's a talking point as well. Welcome.
That was hit fairly hard.
Yeah, I don't look at that play. I saw people freaking out, too, about the positioning. You're not getting a double play on that one. So it doesn't, I don't know.
But you get one.
You do get, yeah.
Yeah.
You get Segura.
You get Segura, you get the, I mean, most likely Segura is the play because the ball was hit to Edman's left. So for him to turn and then try to get the runner at second. You also had Goldschmidt make a play, and Sosa beat that throw, and then you had Arenado misplay a ball in the 9th inning as well. As he said, I was trying to turn too, and I got too aggressive with it, and it slid under his glove. But that one had a lot of people worked up as well, for the record, so that's why I wanted to tend to it in the conversation.
You know what felt weird, and I understand why they didn't. I talked to Iggy, and actually Iggy disagreed with me, and I'm glad he did. But when Yachty got that hit and was pulled in the ninth on, what was it, Saturday? So they're down, they still have a chance to win. I don't really like being down in a playoff series in the ninth and you get a curtain call, and I realize it could potentially be your last at-bat as a Cardinal in Busch Stadium. But that felt like the team already gave up, and they're not coming back, so we got to do this curtain call here now. And it was weird to me that they stopped the game, because I was listening to it on radio on Saturday because I'm coming back from Champaign, and it seemed like a very long kind of standing O kind of curtain call. I could be wrong. Again, I wasn't watching; I was listening on the radio. That
there
to
was
me
no.
is
I don't.
weird.
There wasn't a curtain call. What do you do? Who got a curtain call?
Was it when Yachty got a hit in the ninth? Wasn't he taken out for a pinch runner? Am I correct on
He
that?
was. That's correct.
And didn't they? I mean, Rooney stopped the game and let the crowd cheer. I assumed he was getting a curtain call at the time because there was a minute and a half of nobody talking, and I thought that was super weird.
If there was, they didn't show it on the telecast.
Okay, I wasn't watching. I was just listening again on radio. But
I think I'll tell you. Here's another one that to me, again, these fly under the radar because Molina got a hit, and so it's results oriented. Who gives you a better chance of tying the game with a runner up? Nolan Gorman or Yadier Molina?
I was surprised at that too.
Oh, were you?
Well,
because that's again, it flies under the because to pull Yadier Molina in his last game, that's the thing. But who's going to give you a better chance of hitting a home run? Nolan Gorman or Yadier Molina at that point? I mean, listen. It would have been. I mean, following Friday, in which Ali Marmol went from just kind of a guy who replaced Mike Schilt to, persona non grata number, to pull Yadier Molina in his final at bat. He might have had Albert Pujols and Molina on top of him, but, from a trying to win strategy, bringing Gorman up and hitting a home run, I think actually would have been a better play. But I realize the circumstances adds a whole other thing to it.
And that's why I think maybe Thursday we were talking about starters, and I said I think Wainwright gets to start if it goes to the third game. But he still put him on the roster. Even if he wasn't going to start, he put him on the roster. I cannot put him on the roster. Even if I'm not going to use him, I can't leave him off the roster because it's Wainwright. Same thing with Yachty. I can't pitch hit Yachty here, even though he's probably going to try and bump.
I wonder if it even crossed his mind to pinch hit him.
Probably not.
And again, I'm not saying it's like this egregious thing. To me, if I were to circle an egregious move, it is that there was not more. Again, but it's not just Ali Marmol. You have a pitching coach, and you have Yadier Molina, and you have Helsley. So, but again, having done this for now 20-plus years, I mean, Tony La Russa was crucified annually when they lost to the Mets in 2000, when they lost to the Diamondbacks in 2001, when they lost to the Giants in 2002, when they lost to the Red Sox in 2004, the Astros in 2005, the Dodgers in 2009. So I've seen it now enough to recognize that this is a rite of passage. You complain about the manager, but there were other people involved in this, and that's just on what took place on Friday with the pitching decisions. But to me, it was so clear that you had an issue with Helsley's health, and that's why he wasn't locating, that is when you have to have a plan B ready to go. And you have to have a plan B before he even goes out there because you know that is a situation. So the fact that it wasn't caught until it was too late is the thing that surprises me. Because they're talking about it on the broadcast. But again, I know it sounds crazy. Go back and watch it. The Harper's at bat, Molina goes out there, and I thought it too. I thought the exact same thing, that Molina is buying time to get the shadows to come back. But maybe he was going out there saying, hey, man, what's going on? But I don't think Harper was 1-2 yet. And on a 1-2 pitch, for a ball to be way out of the strike zone, that's not rare. That's what you do. I think Goldschmidt might have been 1-2 and the ball immediately. And A-Rod says, well, you're going to bounce this one up there. You follow the game enough, you know that's what they're going to do, and you hope you get a guy to chase. In Goldschmidt's case, on 3-2, he chased as well. So Marmol wasn't even thinking. If you watch it, again, it sounds crazy. He had a smirk on his face. He was thinking, he goes, oh, I know what Yachty's doing. He's just strolling out there to buy time to get the cloud to move so they have the shadows again. So it wasn't even crossing his mind. But I don't know if Molina noticed something that he thought was wrong. It just became so egregious with 2 of the pitches with Harper that were fastballs, and then he missed on 3-2 pitch. And I think the Castellanos at bat went 5 pitches. He got a strike on him, and then he walked him. And then he hits Bohm, and, at that point. And that's what Marmol relived it on Saturday before the game. And he goes, if there was one spot, he goes, I don't know what else I could have done, but if there was one spot, it would have been getting him out before the Bohm at bat. And the Bohm at bat, it was 2-0, bases loaded, and 1 out, and then he hit him. So that's where, and then he did yank him after that. And that's when Palante came in and Segura got the hit through the X-positioned infield.
Such a shame that it was just a slow-moving plane crash the entire weekend, and that Yadier and Albert go out like that at home too. It just, I don't think I've ever felt overly emotional until after the age of 20 years old when a Cardinal team would lose. But man, I really felt bad on Saturday night, specifically for those guys, because what they've meant to this city, what they meant to the franchise, to see them go out that way. And you know what? To their credit, they both got hits in their final at bats, which was really cool, I thought. But yeah, just hard to watch.
And what's sad is we wouldn't have thought about this when they signed him to come in and basically DH. Mm-hmm. Now what's sad is you're losing 24 home runs and 70 RBIs.
He had 270.
He was amazing.
That season is unreal what he just put together. I'm still blown away by. It's not just timely hitting too. A lot of those home runs were, especially in August, they were tying the game up or going ahead or breaking a scoreless, score in like the 6th or 7th inning. It's phenomenal what he did in clutch situations.
Let's see. He got a standing ovation coming off the field. Plowhawk, not a curtain call.
Okay.
It's from Randy Character.
And that makes sense. I was fine with it. Just in the radio, it took so long because it feels like it takes a long time because Rooney's not talking. Nobody's really talking. So we're like, okay.
Well, I love the set of circumstances with Dickerson and then a pinch runner and Tommy Edman. I mean, not much else you could. I really like that.
I always love when Edman comes to the plate.
But it's like you're watching that game, and even though you'd love to see a 3-run home run, you're going, God, it's freezing there. The ballpark is what it is, and it's Tommy Edman. You're not expecting a home run, but that's the thing. Somebody I just saw texted in that isn't it weird that I had no faith in Paul Goldschmidt when he would come up in the postseason, and yet he's going to be the MVP. And that is a very strange set of circumstances because he just looked lost. Arenado, I realize he didn't do well either, but I didn't view it the same way. But both of them had key opportunities on Saturday night. The weird thing is I felt like the Cardinals had more opportunities on Saturday when they didn't score than Friday when they did score.
What did Goldschmidt go for the 2 games? Was he 0 for something, or did he get a hit? Because I didn't see the first part of the first game.
I am virtually certain.
Arenado had the only hit. I think they went 1 for 15 in the series.
That is correct.
When your 3-hole hitter, doesn't produce at all, I don't care what series.
And the thing is, Nootbaar and Pujols 1-2 did.
Oh, Pujols was great.
They did. I mean, they legitimately did. So the table was set. But I will say this. When the lineup came out on Friday morning, and I was on 101 ESPN doing the show, there were a number of people who texted in, I don't like putting Albert in the 2 spot because he's going to clog up the base paths or really penalize you because if he hits a ground ball, it's a double play with a runner on. And then sure enough, with runners at first and second, that's exactly what happened. But the Cardinal lineup had become so core reliant because nobody else could hit that's the direction that Marmol went. And by the way, it's not like Albert Pujols was hitting second throughout the course of the season regularly. That was a move that took place more so toward the tail end of the season. And I was thinking it was just to get him at bats to get to 700 more than anything. Kind of like the Yankees started hitting Judge.
They didn't lead off.
Exactly. But it's the direction they wound up going in that series.
And not that they're going to pitch around him, but the way Goldschmidt's struggling, I mean, Pujols ain't going to get a ton to hit at second because, got Goldschmidt coming up. Why are we going to give him something to hit? Goldschmidt isn't doing anything.
And Goldschmidt's last 2 at-bats made me think of when you're struggling with your golf swing and you just cannot find the club face and you just have no clue how to fix it.
He really looked lost.
I felt bad for him.
And so that's why I was like, God, is he injured? But then at the same time, to swing at that ball in the dirt on 3-2, wow, God, that's just not that's not really him, And so he was 0 for 7 in the series with 4 strikeouts. 4 of his 7 at bats were strikeouts. He was hit by a pitch. That's the only time he reached first base. He in the series before against the Pirates, 1 for 7, and then in the entire month of September, and this is eye-opening here. He was hitting 253 in the month of September, and his OPS was at 736. So I mean, he went from being in the Triple Crown conversation to, just dropping nearly a full point in the month of September.
I think I saw a stat yesterday, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure the 9,000 texters will let me know.
SADS.
But I think Goldschmidt struck out 3 times and Arenado twice on Saturday. I think that's only the second time since they've been playing together in 2 years. They both struck out more than 2 times in a game together.
I think that's accurate, too.
Yeah, I saw that statistic. Something along those lines. Yeah. And again, it was with runners on, with opportunities.
Yeah.
Hot take. It was selfish of Helsley to not pull himself from the game as soon as he realized that his finger was re-injured. I don't care if you're a competitor, but you're putting your team in a tough spot if you allow yourself to go out there when you know you're not 100% in the playoffs. That's from the 314. Well, I would imagine a number of Cardinals and Phillies, and now Padres and Dodgers and Braves and Yankees and Astros and Guardians are not 100%. That is the nature of the Mariners are not 100%. That's the nature of the beast. This was different, though. And that's one of the things when I was texting with people over the weekend. There was more onus put on Helsley than Marmol. Now, these are people who actually played the game because they said he's in a spot where, the guy pitched well in the 8th inning and struck out the leadoff hitter and was ahead of Harper 1-2. So the issue was they thought that Gallegos had been so bad in his last appearance in Pittsburgh that is why they were gun-shy of allowing him to stay in there beyond the 1 walk that he had, and that was the reasoning for going to Helsley. And initially, Alex Rodriguez and Michael Kay were very complimentary of the move. Oh, you got to win. You got to do whatever you can. So 5-out save here. And then afterwards, when it didn't work out, they go, pushing a guy with an injury, right? And that's just kind of the way that it goes. But I was thinking to myself, this is something right when that happened. And Arenado wasn't healthy in Pittsburgh as well. But how many people were paying attention to the Pittsburgh series? Arenado sat, I believe, on Monday and Tuesday in Pittsburgh because he had some issue. I think it was with either hip or quad. And then Helsley, who was watching the Cardinals and Pirates basically play exhibition games in Pittsburgh? But Helsley, caught himself off the mound and he hurt his middle finger. He jammed his middle finger. And I thought to myself, that's his throwing hand. And if he can't grip the ball, that's going to be a problem. It was one of Jackson's questions going into Balloon Party on Friday is, are you concerned about Helsley? And I thought to myself, yeah, this, I'd like to think he's going to be fine, but these things can happen. And then when he went out there and he dealt in the 8th inning, I'm thinking, well, then he's good. And then he strikes out Hoskins to start the 9th inning. And then he's got Harper 1-2. And just like that, it was over.
Incredible.
If you want players to decide if they should play or not, then, why have a manager? It's not, and I would completely change my tune if this was an injury Helsley was hiding, and then after the fact, after the series, it goes, yeah, I jammed my finger, and I'm probably about 50%. We said it earlier. When you have Helsley up, you should have 2 guys warming up right then and there. You knew about the injury. So to say Helsley's selfish for pitching, these dudes are competitors, man. If Arenado had a broken ankle, I could see him trying to play. That's kind of how they are wired in these types of situations. So if you're Marmol, you make that decision. You don't have a player decide if he's healthy or not. Your medical staff are making that choice. And to just leave him, it felt like they left him on an island there after a while with nobody in, getting ready. It just kind of felt awful for the entire situation. There was no saving that.
Decision-making under pressure. It's just, there's an art. I know I said that already. It's an art.
You are welcome to give your thoughts. Engineer Design Facilities getting a record number of texts here. You can send yours in 314-881-TMA5. EDF can handle all of your company's security and surveillance needs, from surveillance cameras to access card readers to facial recognition software, and everything in between. EDF's Fire Division is now testing, inspecting, and maintaining the fire system on all commercial kitchen and restaurant hoods. If you have visibility to your company or place of business's commercial fire alarm panel and system, please email fire@edf-rg.com, and they will have a technician come out and provide a free evaluation of your system and offer the most competitive contract pricing in the market. You can also check them out anytime at edf-rg.com, the official commercial fire alarm services and solutions provider of TMA. It's engineered, designed facilities. And Tommy Cebulka and the wonderful people at VIP Auto Accessories. VIP Auto Accessories is your one-stop full-service shop for all your auto accessory needs. They do van and truck upfitting for commercial fleet vehicles, provide graphic solutions for vehicles, retail office space, floors, windows, and more, and have a full array of public safety solutions, including for EMS and police fleets. VIP is now a full-service operation, providing top-quality service and the ability to get it done now. VIP's one-stop shop will save you time and hassle. Go to VIPAutoAccessories.com or call Tommy Cebulka at 314-428-3900. You can email him directly at tommy.cebulka@VIPAutoAccessories.com. VIP is the biggest secret in its industry, and now they are promoting their service for all to hear and to take advantage of the VIP quality and convenience. It's VIP Auto Accessories. Send your emails in the morning after at InsideSTL.com for our Design Air Heating and Cooling email today. We'll close out the Munganess St. Louis Acura Alton Toyota 7 o'clock hour. This is the Ryan Kelly Morning After from the Michelob Ultra Studios.
Here's Action Jackson with 3 more ways to get TMA content.
Check out listener rewards on the new TMA mobile app. Watch the show live on the TMA studio cams. Find it at TMASTL.com. Get the podcast on the TMA app. Download it now.
Thanks, Jackson. It's the Ryan Kelly Morning After on 105.7 FM HD2.
Live from the Michelob Ultra Studios, KPNT FM HD2, Collinsville, St. Louis. This is TMA All Day.
Biggie's Restaurant and Bar has been a staple of the community for over 30 years and is serving your favorites like the steak sandwich, waffle fries, and so much more. It's not just the food that's rocking. With a full bar and patio, Biggie's is the perfect spot for lunch, dinner, and a little laughter. Biggie's original hours are back. Open 11 a.m. till midnight, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And 11 a.m. till 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Check out the full menu at biggiesrestaurant.com and stop in today.
Hey, this is Tim McKernan, and I am here with Ryan Kelly, the HomeLoanExpert.com, longtime title sponsor of TMA. And you are always taking care of our audience, and now you're doing it in a way that is very appreciated at this particular moment in American history with the cash-out refi.
Not only are we doing the cash-out refi, but I'm going to put a 10-day closing guarantee on it because I know that people right now need money like they've never needed it before. Get the money you need today. Get caught up on the bills. Stop worrying. Visit thehomeloanexpert.com.
Hey, this is Tim McKernan for Design Air Heating and Cooling. I am a very happy client. Design Air Heating and Cooling and Seth Goldcamp and his incredible staff, which you can find online at designairservice.com. Just go to the website, click on the Book Now tab, and any issues you may be having with your HVAC system, they will take care of immediately. The customer service, second to none. It's Design Air Heating and Cooling online at designairservice.com. This is Tim McKernan. I'd like to tell you about a company I started just a couple of years ago and they still own. And it's called Sound Story. It's essentially a 1-hour interview that we do either in person or via Zoom with mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers. They come in and they tell their stories, education, growing up, and of course, family stories, the wisdom that they can share with their loved ones for generations to come. It's an audio heirloom. It's Sound Story. To learn more, go to mysoundstory.com.
Okay. Hot takes.
Yeah.
Pepperoncini.
And now the Pepperoncini Show with Darren Atkins and Ken Stroh. All right, take it, fellas.
There it is. That's the open.
Pepperoncini.
We don't know what it is. We don't understand the name. We just know it's stupid. And it's available every weekday, featuring Iggy and the Plowboy. Apparently it's some kind of a podcast or something. Available at TMASTL.com and on the TMASTL mobile app. Whatever.
There's a lot of common sense and Western wisdom like don't squat with your spurs on and always drink upstream from the herd. And there's also some Western wisdom that's less common, like never steal from a bear, which you can't make for yourself, or a man doesn't know his worth until he's eye to eye with a rattlesnake holding a toad. I'm sure there's a good lesson in there somewhere, but there's one lesson that's perfectly clear. Fistful of Bourbon is an award-winning blend of 5 straight bourbons and as smooth as a banker on Friday. Get wise, pick up a bottle today. Don't be a damn fool. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by William Grant & Sons in New York, New York.
Hey, it's Jackson for Rosalita's. TMA listeners know that Rosalita's Cantina has the best patio and the best Tex-Mex in town. From tableside guac to pile-high nachos, the amazing menu at Rosalita's is full of classic Mexican dishes. Plus, it's always time for a margarita, and Rosalita's has the most delicious house and specialty margs in town. Enjoy happy hour specials Monday through Friday from 3 to 7, and let Rosalita's cater your next event. Check out rosalitascantina.com or visit the downtown or DePere location today. Time to get your fiesta on at Rosalita's.
Hey, this is Tim McKernan, and I am here with James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. And James, I love getting emails from listeners who support the sponsors. I got one last week from a client of yours who switched, and you immediately saved him $1,000, and it meant the world to him.
The area that we're really having an impact on people's finances are people with drivers under the age of 25. We're seeing material savings for these types of clients, hundreds, if not even thousands of dollars per year.
James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, 314-961-4800, or go online at carltoninsurance.net.
The Ryan Kelly Morning After has your chance to win Dead & Company tickets. Dead & Company, the final tour, June 7th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, with 2 sets of music drawing from the Grateful Dead's historic catalog of songs. Tickets go on sale this Friday starting at 10 a.m. You can get your tickets for free on the TMA app and at TMASTL.com. Find out more at those places. Thank you.
I spent 4 years in San Francisco.
The Ryan Kelly Morning After.
KPN-TFM, HD2.
Collinsville, St. Louis.
Uh-oh. Who is this? I hear this all the time.
Billy.
Billy Gilman, sir.
Billy Gilman.
Welcome back to the Ryan Kelly Morning After. This is our Appliance Discounters 8 o'clock hour. Appliance Discounters, your hometown appliance source featuring major brands like GE. Get involved on the show. Steve Schmidt, Kia, North County phone line, 636-9004-TMA. And you can, of course, text in to the program using the engineered design facilities. Text inbox 314-881-TMA5. And you can email in for our Design Air Heating and Cooling email of the day. If you're in need of an appliance right away, you won't wait weeks at Appliance Discounters. They have an 80,000 square foot warehouse filled with GE appliances along with other brands. You can't wait weeks when your refrigerator, washer, or dryer goes out. Come into one of the showrooms today and they'll deliver it tomorrow. If you're building or remodeling your home and don't need your appliances right away, they can hold them for you. And remember, you can always shop online at theappliancediscounters.com. Michael Wellington in for Doug Vaughn, and it's just me and you in the studio, the Michelob Ultra Studios. Ken Strode does 1 hour now. He renegotiated like Arenado.
Just a 2-ball until Kenny comes back after the smoke break.
It is a 2-ball.
Right?
And the Plowhawk is tending to the podcast because Jackson is ill today. Doug is in the Hamptons. Ken is out smoking heaters. And Wellington and I are here. And a lot of Cardinal discussion today, as is the case. Although we will have Gabe DeArmond at 9 o'clock, presented by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, to relive the magic that was Missouri and Florida at the Swamp. We are scheduled, Michael, to play Chris Nagel. You'll be on Nagel's Bag on Wednesday at Meadowbrook. But conditions now call the match into question. The forecast 90% for rain tomorrow and now 60% for storms on Wednesday. And the Hawk is up. The Hawk is up on Wednesday. And Nagel, I don't know how he'll handle the wind, whereas we're kind of low trudge. You know, Iggy has a masterful stinger that he just takes. He just takes the wind out of play. And so I could see Nagel wanting to try to opt out now.
Do you feel as if this weather front that's moving in is detrimental to your squad, or do you think that helps your squad?
Detrimental, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree. I just want to let you know, just so the listeners can know, I think this is important. I got some very brand new information from Dan Kelly, who's a wonderful member from over at Meadowbrook. We heard about the 62 2 Fridays ago from Chris. We had another 62 this past Friday. He had a little 33, 3 under on the front, and then decided to shoot 29 on the back nine. I'll be happy to send this scorecard over to you and the rest of the day so you guys can just prepare for Wednesday.
Well, that's going to make it challenging for our pairing, but we know he is probably going to back out because of the weather on Wednesday. That's how we think.
You think he's going to fold up shop? Wave the white flag?
That's how we think it's going to play out. That's correct. Hey, Tim, you should give Wellington his own show later in the day on HD2. That's great. If I ran things and owned things, I suppose I could do that. But here I am still 5 years, 6 years, almost 7 years since having anything to do with management. Being asked to. But, Michael, would you like a show on afternoons if I had anything to do with it?
I think that seems excessive. I think after coming here for now 3 days in a row, I think I'm good. But thank you anyway.
So this will be your final show, or tomorrow will be your final show?
Tomorrow will be the last one.
Ever?
I don't think it'll be forever.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
You need another substitute.
You have a rising stock with the audience, and as you heard from Pepper and Jeannie, who are currently not with us, they get a little sideways with the audience. I think they were calling them the SADs, if I'm not mistaken.
Certainly, I feel as if the finest work that I've done in the last week or so is the stuff on Pepper and Jeannie. So
absolutely.
If you want to hear interesting tidbits about Henry VIII and also the Live Golf Tour, catch those recordings from last week.
Henry VIII and the Live Golf Tour. Iggy, what will be the topic today on Pepper and Jeannie?
I don't know. Didn't watch House of the Dragons.
Shocking.
I forgot I was watching the football game. We'll come up with something.
I'm sure.
We'll do House of the Dragons tomorrow. I was watching the Tudors, so we can talk some more Henry VIII if you want.
See, there you go, Michael.
I think I'm good.
Anne Boleyn's head just got chopped off.
Thank you for sharing.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. It was 1535.
Are you cold?
No. I just wore this outside.
Smoking heaters. Smoking darts.
Well, the leather is very Fonzie.
Well, I forgot to take it off. I got 2 new jackets over the weekend.
Oh, how do you do?
And why did you not like the stripper Conclusions name?
Well, it's not a name.
Well, of course it is.
It's Conclusion.
Would that be an adjective?
Noun.
Noun.
If you think about it, conclusion could mean finish. That was one of producer Joe's favorite terms. Finish.
Yeah, it was. Bring that up.
It's a good finisher.
It's like gentle.
Gentle, that was Biff's friend.
You know, I've never met Biff. I'd like to. He's a very intriguing fellow to me.
You didn't meet him at the Maggie O'Brien's?
I haven't met him yet, just for whatever reason, but I just love his action.
He was all over the place that night. I can't believe he didn't
gambling.
He's a sharp player, ladies and gentlemen. The Plowhawk is, and Plowhawk has the podcast.
It's up.
There you go.
Look at you.
My voice is correct. I must have a growth spurt coming.
Now, I did think of something this morning. I texted Jay, and it pertains to Biff. Biff wants to go to the AVNs. I don't want to go. But I can get him a credential. And I wonder if Jay could get like those 3 days off. And
Jennings.
Go in my place with Biff.
Wow, that'd be wonderful.
I think Jay and Biff interviewing porn stars would be a treat.
Agreed. 100%.
I would love to see it happen. He won't have to worry about Sullivan in January, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in Vegas like 3 times this year, hasn't he?
I'll go. Jay don't go.
You're in Plowhawk?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Porn stars, Vegas, free trip.
Who's going to be on board?
Maybe you should go anyway.
Jackson. On board.
Yeah, well, if Jay ain't going to go, they got enough hands on deck there.
True.
Well, they are back this year, so.
The AVNs are back.
Yep, I'll talk to Jay. If Jay can go, I'm sure Biff, if he's going to pay for me, he'd pay for Jeff or Jay.
Where did they go? COVID?
Yeah, it was a COVID deal, I think.
They did it virtual.
They did literally did virtual. You can check out the events or check out Mentality today at lowtusa.com. Go to lowtusa.com. It's FDA approved testosterone treatment. If you're dealing with low energy, weight gain, muscle loss, fatigue, you're tired all the time, anxious, impatient, irritable, those are symptoms of low testosterone. And what Mentality can do is treat it. The normal range for testosterone is large. If you've been to a doctor and they told you that you were normal without understanding the range or testing your free testosterone, it wasn't fully looked at. Come get checked with Mentality. Testosterone therapy helps men regain normal function and restores their ability to perform normally at all levels. Compete at work and at sports like you did years ago. Your career is a competition, and you need every edge you can get in today's rapidly changing market. Don't let age be an excuse to settle for second. Check out Mentality at lowtusa.com. Mentality. Check them out at lowtusa.com. A wonderful sponsor here of the Ryan Kelly Morning After. Iggy, while you were out enjoying a dart, Wellington and I discussed a forecast for Wednesday that is quite concerning for TMA versus the world. Chris Nagel, the next chapter. And this is supposed to take place at Meadowbrook. Balls in the air, Michael, at 2 p.m. Some people here at Hubbard want to be in attendance. There are people in the public who are wondering if the doors will be opened at Meadowbrook. There is a buzz in the air, but Iggy, conditions now concerning in the forecast. I can't wait to hear what you have regarding the weather tomorrow and Wednesday.
Slow-moving front coming in out of the north.
No.
Slow moving?
Yeah, it's slow moving. It's gonna mix a little bit with some southerly winds, so it'll stay fairly warm, mid-70s, 74, 75. But this front coming in is bringing showers, and I think it gets here late tomorrow night and into Wednesday. So we're gonna be dodging some drops.
Wellington was wondering if that benefited us or Nagel.
Well, probably benefits Nagel because with wet conditions, he can still bust it out there 300. It's going to really hurt us.
What does benefit us?
A rain out.
If he, breaks his arm. I
don't want to wish on that because we still got a big season ahead of him. So I don't want to wish an injury. But I think that might be the only way.
If Wellington throws another club in there and we count 15 at the end of the round.
That's only a loss of one hole. I think he could probably spare it.
That's the loss of the match, I believe.
Can you fiddle with his rangefinder? So instead of being a 130 out, you could be like, oh, you're 180 out.
You mean you want me to give him bad yardage?
That could help you.
At his home course, he'd never notice.
After Friday and Lisa Ann hitting on him, why is Michael not in New York today? Also, I'm upping my bet to $10,000 on Nagel. That's from Steve, and he's in Wildwood.
I don't do New York. That's the answer to that.
You don't do New York?
No, I don't do New York.
You've never been? Or you just don't like it?
I've been 3 times. I've been to Manhattan. I've been to the Hamptons for the Shinnecock situation, and then one time, unfortunately, years ago, I had to go to a funeral in the suburbs. But yeah, New York's just not my kind of place.
All right.
Not really.
I really like New York.
Yeah, some people do.
I love New York. Wouldn't want to live there, but I love visiting.
I have never been.
Do you enjoy L.A.?
Yes. I like LA.
See, I don't really. I mean, I like
Southern
weather.
Cal.
I just hate because you can't get around. I mean, you can, but it's pack a lunch.
New York is a lot for me to kind of grasp.
Understand.
It's just an alive city.
No doubt.
Just walking around Times Square or Manhattan, shopping, and people walking to work, and the streets are always full. And I don't know. I dig that.
Here is a Meadowbrook member. I played a hole number 4 from 258 yards on Friday, pin back right. I made birdie. You guys might stand a chance. Then again, with the Strodecast calling for rain and wind, I will stay course that you guys get beat on 11. If the carts are on the path, we'll be watching you like a hawk, Boots. See you Wednesday, boys. That's from the Meadowbrook member, Mr. 63011. He does not want you straying. Well, we're walking. Well, I'm walking. We figured Doug and Iggy might be in a cart, and I think they're talking about getting a GoPro. Met with the production staff on Friday following the show.
Who's going to be wearing that?
I think they put it in the cart, kind of like what Tiger and Mickelson had. I think that's what they're talking about. I don't know. This is a whole thing.
I'm going to carry my Packer staff bag, 018.
Really?
No, I'm not walking. Are you kidding me?
Might be path only.
Yeah, then that will be an issue. But you know me, I'll take plenty of clubs.
Well, I think they want us to walk to get the audio. If you watch the Kisner versus Barstool, they're all walking.
Well, you won't get any audio out of me then.
Well, they're probably walking.
Dedication.
They're walking in the Kisner match because at Pinehurst you can only walk.
That is part of it. Yeah, you can't be driving carts off the.
Oh, that'd be so funny to see them at Pinehurst.
I mean, let's be honest here, fellas. Now that the Cardinals have lost, this event on Wednesday, without a doubt, is the biggest show in town.
Wow, shot at the Blues and CBJ on Saturday night.
Absolutely, 100%.
You better not head down the hallway and do balloon party.
Regular season start?
It does.
I expect to be there would be a large gallery there.
Iggy, I mean, you've played in front of a large gallery in the par 3 shootout when you were my guest earlier this year And you performed admirably. This guy performs in front of galleries, Michael.
He's a natural showman.
I thrive on it. I said that in my post. I said I thrive on pressure and galleries.
Right. Even though you don't feel pressure.
You had 50 people behind the green yelling, Iggy, Iggy. I just nailed it.
They were supporting.
Yes. One guy said, shank it. I heard one guy in the gallery say, shank it.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
I did. Well, go back and watch.
Is it on the video?
Go back and watch Loomster's video from behind the green.
How many times have you watched that video? Over under.
Right before
Which
our
one?
session.
The one of you hitting 9 out of 10 at the 18th green at Normandy.
I've watched ours twice, only because I wanted to get some snapshots of Cletus.
Right.
So I freezed it and took a picture. Cletus was more excited than I was.
We didn't lose money.
Which I liked.
He's the backer.
Loomster's once. He had 2 of them. He got 1 hole, and then his camera froze. Then he came back for like the 5th shot. Nobody's got a close-up of the, God, was it the 5th shot? Because the 4th shot was the one that was short, right?
Yes.
I think that was the 4th shot. Then I had to go 6 for 6. I couldn't miss again. And then my very next shot I pulled, which hit the rough and then bounced onto the green. I don't have a close-up of that. Neither video has the ball where you can see it hitting the fringe and going on to or hitting the rough. I like to see how that.
You like to see that lucky bounce at the left fringe and bounce onto the green?
I knew it was left, and then.
You knew it was luck or left?
Left, and then kicked right.
Well, I know.
But I wanted to see how close it came to staying in the rough.
Guys, I'd be interested in going to your match, but the fact that it's at Meadowbrook violates my whole don't go west of 270 except for spirit policy. That's from Mr. Licks.
Oh, he's back.
Well, we don't want you out there anyway, so.
We need Nagel to turn into Goldschmidt quick.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I know.
Iggy, I know this is a big match that you're going to be involved in on Wednesday, but I've been receiving text messages about another match that would like to have you included.
Oh, wow. What do we have?
The club champion at Bogey Hills wants to partner with you, and he wants to play, you guys play Timmy and I at Bogey Hills. This will probably be springtime.
What's wrong with that guy?
Great question.
Clip that off.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. Lots is wrong with him, apparently. Why? Are you suggesting that you wouldn't be a good partner?
Not against you two. I mean, if
No. You and him.
And I assume Iggy's getting pops, and I'm getting pops.
You get your strokes, your normal strokes. Yes.
If somebody else is putting up the money, I'll play.
There's.
I don't know.
Yeah, if my backer Cletus is around.
It's
Yeah.
become a painful process.
I mean, look, I've played in 2 member guests with Tim, and I've let him down twice.
I would blame myself for 2020, whatever the hell it was, 2022 this year. I was horrible. That's not on you. That is absolutely me.
Well, just keep
Michael,
it in
you
mind.
would have been startled by what was going on out there.
Yeah, well, I played well on Saturday.
You did.
Yeah, the problem is that the guys we played with in the first round, where we got skull left 8-2, those guys made everything.
Yeah, that happens.
That's what happens when you get
it's
skull
not like
left.
we really lost it.
They usually make
Everybody makes everything.
They're knocking it
against you.
2 inches from
That
the
one-
bunker, knocking in 30-footers off
And you know
the
what you do,
green.
Michael? You tip your cap.
Sure. What else can you do?
It's part of the game.
That really wasn't our fault.
But guys, Blues fans getting pissy when you guys don't talk regular season hockey is a tradition unlike any other. That's from the Hunchback of Vaughan Castle.
Hockey starts the first week of February.
When did the playoffs start?
Mid-April, I would imagine.
That's when I start.
That's when they start.
That's when I start. Yeah.
Iggy, what's it like to have these fans that want to play golf with you?
I appreciate it. Makes you feel good that people want to be around you.
I can't argue with
compared to the ones that want nothing to do with me, but that's also their prerogative. No, I love Bogey Hills. Pete Weber's still out there?
I believe so.
I haven't talked to Pete in forever.
Let's get him on.
All right, I'm booked.
Just like that.
I can make a phone call, yeah.
Text in 314-881 TMA5 Engineer Design Facilities text inbox. Email in the morning after at InsideSTL.com for the Design Air Heating and Cooling email of the day. And call it 636-9004 TMA Plowhawk. I mean, or could it be possible that people are calling in, but because we can't have the ringer on in here, and Jackson is ill today, that we can't, because these phone lines have become super hot as of late, but we have no way to know, I don't think, anyway.
There is a 99% chance we miss some calls today.
Yeah.
So I will, like I said, it's really hard from where the phone
I guess
is
you got to
at
text the text inbox, and then ideally I see it.
I mean, I would look periodically. Sometimes it's hard, like, because I will forget.
I can see it from here. If I see something buzzing, I'll tell you.
Oh, is that right? All right.
Somebody called.
There you go. Steve Schmidt, North County phone lines. Ryan Kelly, title sponsor of this award-winning radio presentation, thehomeloanexpert.com. That is Ryan Kelly. But I'll tell you what, there are still houses being put on the market, and now the prices are dropping, and houses are staying on the market longer. People are intimidated by the interest rates, and that's why Ryan Kelly says, date the rate, marry the house. Date the rate, marry the house. You can get your home and then refinance when rates come back down. That is what Ryan Kelly is telling people to do with this real estate market right now and with the volatility of interest rates. So go to thehomeloanexpert.com, check things out. This could be your opportunity because this time last year it was almost impossible to get a home unless you paid over list. Thehomeloanexpert.com. Ryan Kelly, title sponsor of this show. Go online at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Colonel, Gabe DeArmond, going to join us in about 17 minutes. Missouri losing to Florida, but look at ILL.
Boy.
They are in the top 25. I continue to say it's a shame that they lost to Indiana because they would be like probably 15th or something in the country. Plowhawk, you were in Champaign.
I was, and I have to thank Kyle, who ended up getting the tickets and asking me to go. I haven't been to the new renovated stadium. I haven't been to many college football games in Illinois in a long time. Got to see the great Mark Milton. Got to see the great recovering alcoholic from Belleville and Webster Grove.
He's special.
Just special, special people. It was a great atmosphere. The tailgating.
Did you tailgate with Milty?
I did.
He had a nice little setup up
He had a great setup, and I was surprised with how big their football tailgating is because they have been the butt ass of the Big Ten for the last 6 to 8 years. But,
Shot at Nebraska.
Yeah, that's true. But it couldn't have been a more boring 9-6 showdown with
But you know
Iowa.
what you're going to get when the Hawkeyes come a-calling.
But the atmosphere was great. It shows what coaching does at university level. Shot at drink. Bielema took a team of basically 1-star walk-ons and 2-star recruits, and it turned them a top 25 program. This is a guy who doesn't need 6 years, 8 5-stars, and a dump truck to have success. And that's why I love Brett Bielema, and I had a fantastic time in Champaign.
Have they played a team with a winning record yet in the
That's
Big
a
Ten?
good question.
That's a great question. The competition hasn't been there. So that's why I'm not.
Well, they're going to get tested here, right?
Oh, their schedule's a little rough. But if they can be bowl bound with 7 wins, that is a season I will just be just fine with.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know my thoughts on Drink, but
what are your thoughts on Drink?
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. But I to Iggy's point, I think Illinois, while they're having success, I think their conference is quite a bit softer than the SEC.
Well, they're beating the Drex of the Big Ten, whereas Mizzou can't even beat Auburn.
That is true.
Amen.
But I actually, to see the revival of what Illinois was to what it is now, again, 7 wins, I'm just fine with that. I worry about Bielema's long-term there, seeing as I'm sure Nebraska and other teams will be coming after him.
I mean, I got to tell you, Plowhawk, looking at ILL's schedule.
Yeah, who they got left?
They have Maryland. Do they have Maryland?
They have Minnesota this week.
That's a W.
Minnesota was top 25, and they got beaten at home by Purdue, and that kind of changed the scope of things. Then they are at Nebraska. There's a team that's struggling a bit. Then they're at home against Michigan State. Then they're at home against Purdue. I mean, it is really within the realm. I know this sounds crazy.
It is.
But they could be a top 10 team when they travel to Ann Arbor on Saturday, November 19th. And then they finish off the season with the rivalry game at Northwestern. So they don't have the Buckeyes this year. Michigan State is down. And they have Minnesota, Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue. And then in a month and change, they go to Ann Arbor.
That's really crazy because I thought the schedule played out a little bit
in which
tougher.
They will probably be 21-point underdogs despite being number 9 in the nation.
Oh, they will. Yeah, Michigan's a different breed. They will get rolled by Michigan. But if that schedule sets up to maybe an 8 or 9 win team potentially.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that Michigan State game is one of.
I'm more locked in on the Illinois schedule than you are.
Yeah, you are. But that defense that Illinois has, I think it's only given up 6 touchdowns, maybe less than that, none at home. And it's just
They've
so
won
weird.
38-6 at home against Wyoming, 24-3 at home against Virginia. Then they started against Chattanooga and shut them out. They only allowed 10 at Wisconsin. That got Paul Chris fired, 34-10, and then 6 points against Iowa.
Not one single touchdown given up.
Vaunted
at home.
defense.
I watched a lot of college football this weekend, and
I love college football.
been watching it I just probably watched 6 games this weekend. Not as much every weekend. But this is the first time in a long time after watching some of these teams that I can say that there's not a legitimate number one team that you think, God, this team is going to beat everybody, or it's going to be hard to beat this team. Georgia hasn't looked that good. Alabama could have lost to Texas A&M if not for, referees don't look at the clock in the end zone. There's not a lot of Michigan has had a couple of close games. I mean, there's not really a number one team, if you look at it, that you can say it's going to be hard to beat this team.
I think that things will start to crystallize with Alabama and Georgia. I mean, they didn't have Bryce Young. That's a Heisman Trophy winner. That's a big factor. Georgia looked like they were kind of fumble effing around with Auburn, and then they blew them off the field and wound up covering. I don't know what the number got to. I think it was 29.5, and they covered that. I don't know. I think Ohio State actually. If you're looking at it, I think Ohio State has been the most impressive week in and week out to date. And if Michigan continues to trend in the direction they have, that will really be one hell of a showdown. Georgia and Alabama wouldn't play each other until they get to the SEC championship game.
Alabama's going to have their hands full this weekend, boys.
Yeah. They got to go in, and if they don't have Bryce Young, they are playing at Tennessee.
Going to Rocky Top.
They are so good.
Nick Saban, better have your horses ready.
I am telling you. Has anybody seen the number on that one? I'm curious what that is. My guess is that it's not on the board because you don't know what Bryce Young's doing. That's what my guess is.
Tennessee were anthracite, though. Didn't love the gray on gray on gray.
If Bryce Young
LSU,
plays,
but they look good.
I'll say Alabama will be 4.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. What about Oklahoma losing 49-0 to the Hook'ems? And they are -7 against Kansas.
Oh, really?
It just shows you how stupid preseason rankings are. Wasn't Oklahoma like ranked 5th?
Oh yeah,
to start the season, and they're awful.
They've gotten rolled 2 weeks in a row. TCU rolled them.
And they lost at home to K-State. Let me see.
Did K-State pound them, or was it more reasonable?
No, Adrian Martinez laid some work on that. I don't know if it was a blowout, but man, they could not stop Adrian Martinez.
Yeah, Michigan, Penn State this weekend. Michigan's -7.5. ILL is getting 3.5 at home against the Golden Gophers.
I'd take that all day.
You're taking ILL?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota's down and out, and Illinois is coming. So
random game. BYU, Arkansas. Arkansas running into some problems now. No KJ Jefferson, and Barry Odom's defense getting skewered in Fayetteville. Georgia gets to take on Missouri's homecoming opponent this week. They are -38.5 against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt gave Lane Kiffin a little scare in the first half, and they pulled away. Maryland is -11 in Bloomington this weekend, and Alabama is currently -7.5 at Rocky Top.
dude, that's way too big. Like, Tennessee doesn't get enough credit.
I have to tell you that one legitimately surprises me. I thought the best game it's freaked me out. There were 2 games that the spreads freaked me out. One of them I was right to be freaked out on. One of them I was wrong. I was freaked out that Texas was -9 against Oklahoma, and you saw what wound up happening. And I was freaked out that Tennessee was only -2.5 against LSU, and Tennessee beat the hell out of LSU. So I was thinking, God, Tennessee should be a bigger favorite against LSU. I don't think Tennessee gets the proper respect they deserve. That's a hell of a team.
They can score.
Yeah.
Serious weapons.
I mean, I don't know. So that number, by the way, moved up. It opened at 7, and it's now up to 7.5.
What's the total on that one?
65.5.
Yeah, I figured it'd be high. I think that one's just going to be who can outscore the other one.
And so much is about Bryce Young because they have a running quarterback backing him up right now. Florida -2.5 in the swamp against LSU. Whew. I don't know what I would do there. I was really not impressed by the Florida defense.
I think LSU coming off a loss at home, they're going to be mad.
Mad as Hornets?
Yeah, I think so.
And Clemson is minus 4.5 against Florida State. Kentucky now falling on tough times. They are getting 7 at home against the Pirate. Mike Leach, Mississippi
I love
State.
the Pirate.
The Pirate is 5-1.
He is fantastic.
They have no quarterback. I didn't know that when I played Kentucky. I didn't know the quarterback was.
Oh, did you get hit in pick six?
Walking into the game with a boot on. Yeah, I lost that, and I lost the overline last night.
So what would you do?
Well, it depends. If Kansas City getting 3.5 tonight, if they win, I go 4-2. If they lose, I go 1-6.
Now, help me out here, Iggy. Do you go old school bookmaker, or do you have like a pool that you're in?
I have a bookie, but I'm talking about pick 6 for this, where I'm playing all these teasers.
Dude, what Tennessee is doing in the recruiting realm, too, that's a good team. I don't think they get nearly enough credit. I mean, you remember the Butch Joneses and the Derek Dooley eras, but this is a different breed. I watched that LSU game, and they just made them look, I mean, that was embarrassing.
Let's see what we got here. A nice college football take, Iggy. Stick to porn, cooking trash, fishing, gambling with other people's money. That's from Dillian Harpoon.
All right, well, go ahead and tell me what I didn't get right when I started
Dillian, we'll open up the phone lines, and you can call in 636-9004-TMA. Tim, they're not happy with you guys in the YouTube chat for not talking Lindenwood.
They are D1 now.
Hey, correct, though. I talked about this to Kyle on the way to Champaign. Dude, their hockey schedule, I don't know how many D1 hockey teams are. They're playing, like, Minnesota and Michigan in, like, the first month, and they're ranked in the top 10.
Good for Lindenwood.
I don't really break down Lindenwood, but I love that they're D1 now. It's cool.
They're known for their bowling program.
Really? Is that the one that you took to New Heights?
No, that was Fontbonne.
Oh, Fontbonne, yeah.
Yeah, I think they got 2 national championships at Lindenwood.
Were you the bowling coach at Fontbonne?
Oh,
you didn't know that?
Oh,
no.
Wellington.
Is that right? When was that?
We'll just leave it at that.
Did it not go well?
He's not taking questions on this.
You could just Google
why
the
not?
records.
Seems like a simple enough question.
Go podcast about a year ago.
Pre-Pepper and Genie?
Yeah, this is what probably started good Pepper and Genie topics was the Fontbonne bowling.
How many years were you at Fontbonne?
2. I was fired on my 3rd.
Whoa, fired? What happened? Did you get in?
No, the program folded.
Oh. Title IX situation, or did you,
let's go.
Did you harass one of the
let's go with that.
players?
Let's go with that.
Hey, Ken, let the big boys talk football and focus on not booking your interview with Maitland Ward. Thanks. That's from Big Tough.
Yeah, what's the
Big
latest?
Tough again. What did I say that you don't agree with?
I think it was Dillian Harpoon who was critical
Well,
of
this guy too. He said, "Leave the football talk to the big boys." Well, what did I say that you don't agree with? And second of all, I'm interviewing Maitland on Thursday. So.
Are you really?
Hello.
Wow. I think you were out when I told the Plowhawk and Michael that I'm listening to her book. I was listening to it on the way to the studios this morning. No podcast, really. As much as I like to listen to No Laying Up, the Tom Kim win didn't necessarily fascinate me enough to listen to the podcast.
Did she voice it?
She did.
Did she?
No.
Kind of an ASMR thing going on?
No, she's just reading her book. What do you think she does ASMR? She does ASMR?
She could go softer. And then when I got into porn, I saw how big he was. And oh my goodness. That's when it hit me. I've got to get into this industry.
I just became uncomfortable.
That's ASMR.
That's all it takes?
Yeah, at 3 o'clock, though, I got to come back in and do it. And I don't know if Jackson is still here at 3 o'clock to tape this.
What is it?
Well, there's like 5 people who work in production. Carly could tape it.
And if you need me here, Iggy, at 3,
Jamie. Yeah, Jamie's probably here still.
There you go.
I'll be just.
I just need to tell him what phone number to call.
Hey, guys, that interview is 100% not happening Thursday. I'm calling it now.
All right, you want to bet?
It's from Big Tough.
Well,
Big
put some
Tough,
money
this is
on
your
Tough.
chance to bet.
Yeah, well, you guys just put your money where your mouth is.
Cletus, what is our max bet?
I've got word here from Buck Swope says Iggy only took the Fontbonne bowling team to 2 tournaments in 2+ years. Is that
Well,
true?
we don't care what Swope says.
I was sideways with him over the weekend, but we're good.
You got sideways with Buck Swope?
No, his posts are long, and there's that Feta and Brocus vibe where not a lot of it's like completely accurate. But again, I love Swope. He does a lot of work for the
Michael,
show.
he's the best in the business.
He's the best at what he does.
Savant.
But sometimes he does have to be put in place on occasion.
He just
like
needs
all
to
of
know
us
when
do.
not to post. Like I've said, he's helped the show out. He's found stuff for us. But there's certain things you have no control over, and it's none of your business.
I've never in my life on Facebook had to hit continue reading twice on a post. Usually, like when you hit it once, the post shows up in full. This one was so big that you needed to, when you scrolled down and kept reading, you had to click continue reading again. That's when you know it's lengthy. But his breakdowns are gold, man. Like, Svet and Rokas, I'll never forget. So we love Swope.
What'd you get sideways over? Like, were you arguing?
Like we were talking
like
about,
on the phone, or was this on the fan page?
No. I wouldn't even say we were sideways. I did see the post about when he was talking about my firing, and a lot of people were acting as if they know more about me getting fired in that situation than I do. And I assure you, I was there. I have the emails saved. I promise you, I know a little more about the situation. So they were all trying to break it down, and if I was right and accurate about the timeline, it's like, yo, I've been furloughed enough here. I know the drill. I know what story is real.
That was the second part of the email, or the post.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I
had a problem with the first part that I stayed away from.
I feel like Swope he handles the TMA audience and all the TMA information the same way that Yachty handles a pitching staff. You know, he's just that important to the TMA group.
He was waiting for the shadow to come.
Right.
Exactly. It's all about the shadows. Gabe is going to join us here coming up in about 5-6 minutes. The Colonel, presented by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency. Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies is a wonderful sponsor of this program and the Tim McKernan Show podcast. My interview with Mark Mantovani is up for your listening pleasure on the Tim McKernan Show podcast. And send your questions, comments, anything in for QFTA, T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com. Mark Hanna with Evergreen Wealth Strategies, 314-889-0503, or go online at evergreenstl.com. So many people, not just on this show, but in our audience, have called Mark and have experienced the advice that he gives. And it's not just financial advice. He is somebody that I enjoy talking with because he has what I would describe as a really healthy perspective on life and how that relates to managing your finances. And it's different for each person, different stages of life, different goals. Mark Hanna, you will feel comfortable talking to him, 314-889-0503, or go online at evergreenstl.com. That's Mark Hanna with Evergreen Wealth Strategies. And I would like to tell people about pulling up a chair and enjoying a beverage on a Monday morning. You might want to take the edge off after a rough weekend for the Cardinals. Celebrate all of your college and fantasy teams' Tully touchdowns with Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. May your team be swift and their aim be true. May the refs be forever in your favor. And your whiskey always, Tullamore Dew. Tullamore Dew, the original triple-blended, triple-distilled, smooth-sipping Irish whiskey made exactly for game day moments like this. When it's game time, it's Tully time. Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, imported by William Grant & Sons, Inc., New York, New York. Please enjoy Tullamore Dew responsibly. Tullamore Dew. All right, we'll take a commercial break, and we will be joined by the Colonel, Gabe DeArmond. And then Buck Swope has sent me an email. How about that?
Less than 40 paragraphs?
Let's see. Yes, it is. It's timely, and it speaks to something that we were talking about earlier. We'll have that for you on the other side of the break in our Maggie O'Brien's 9 o'clock hour. This closes out the Appliance Discounter's 8 o'clock hour. This is the Ryan Kelly Morning After from Michelob Ultra Studios.
Okay.
Hot takes.
Yeah.
Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini.
And now the Pepperoncini Show with Darren Atkins and Ken Strode. All right, take it, fellas.
There it is. That's the open.
Pepperoncini.
Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini. Pepperoncini.
We don't know what it is. We don't understand the name. We just know it's stupid. And it's available every weekday, featuring Iggy and the Plowboy. Apparently it's some kind of a podcast or something. Available at TMASTL.com and on the TMASTL mobile app. Whatever.
Hey, it's Jackson for Rosalitas. TMA listeners know that Rosalita's Cantina has the best patio and the best Tex-Mex in town. From tableside guac to piled-high nachos, the amazing menu at Rosalita's is full of classic Mexican dishes. Plus, it's always time for a margarita, and Rosalita's has the most delicious house and specialty margs in town. Enjoy happy hour specials Monday through Friday from 3 to 7, and let Rosalita's cater your next event. Check out rosalitascantina.com or visit the downtown or DePere location today. Time to get your fiesta on at Rosalita's.
Hey, if you like the morning after, check out Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. HD1, by the way. It's sports talk with Tim McKernan and Action Jackson from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. each weekday, right after the morning after. It's the worst named show in the history of radio, but the content's pretty good, so check it out on 101 ESPN or get the podcast on the TMA app.
Randy Carricker with Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert, is St. Louis based. So is Two Men in a Truck. And Ryan, if people are going to use the home loan expert to buy a new home and move, you've got a deal for them.
Absolutely. You know, home loan expert, born and raised right here in St. Louis. In fact, I grew up where there was now a new runway at the airport. And that was my old neighborhood, the Carrollton Club. And another great company right here in St. Louis is Two Men in a Truck. So it's kind of like a partnership that was just meant to be. We hear from folks a lot when they're buying a home. You got any recommendations on who I could use for moving my stuff? And, you know, for years it was like, nah, don't really know. But then we go, you know, we can give a good recommendation. So we got together, we met with some movers, and it was clear as day. Two Men in the Truck was where our partnership needed to be. So here's the deal. If you use the home loan expert to buy your new home, Two Men in a Truck will give you $500 off their cost of moving. That's right. All you have to do is close your loan with thehomeloanexpert.com and get $500 off the move with Two Men in a Truck. Learn more and get pre-approved today at thehomeloanexpert.com.
This is Tim McKernan. I'd like to tell you about a company I started just a couple of years ago and they still own. And it's called Sound Story. It's essentially a 1-hour interview that we do either in person or via Zoom with mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers. They come in and they tell their stories, education, growing up, and of course, family stories, the wisdom that they can share with their loved ones for generations to come. It's an audio heirloom. It's Sound Story. To learn more, go to mysoundstory.com.
Here's Action Jackson with 3 more ways to get TMA content.
Watch TMA on YouTube. Click the bell to subscribe. Download the podcast. Find it at tmastl.com or wherever you podcast. And check us out on TikTok at TMASTL.
Thanks, Jackson. It's the Ryan Kelly Morning After on 105.7 FM HD2.
The Ryan Kelly Morning After has your chance to win Dead & Company tickets. Dead & Company, the final tour, June 7th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, with 2 sets of music drawing from the Grateful Dead's historic catalog of songs. Tickets go on sale this Friday starting at 10 a.m. You can get your tickets for free on the TMA app and at tmastl.com. Find out more at those places. Thank you. The Tim McKernan Show podcast, featuring long-form interviews with people from the world of sports, politics, and entertainment.
And our guest today, Bill McClellan. Thanks so much for coming in.
Hey, my pleasure, Tim.
What's up, Caden?
Hi, how are you?
Joe Buck, our guest today.
Man, it's like I haven't seen you in years.
More than 500 episodes and counting, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts, including the TMA STL app. Get the app now at tmastl.com. Live from the Michelob Ultra Studios, KPN-TFM HD2, Collinsville, St. Louis. This is TMA All Day.
I'm as moist as a freshly baked Betty Crocker cake.
The Ryan Kelly Morning After.
KPN-TFM HD2.
Collinsville, St. Louis.
Called Missouri, which I wrote. There is a state which I live in, which is called Missouri. It is called Missouri.
Missouri.
Missouri is where I live.
Missouri's where I live.
Missouri is where I live. Oh, oh, oh. Missouri is where I live. Missouri is a wonderful place.
How you like this, Mike?
What is this?
This is what they play when the Tigers take the field when Vanderbilt comes a calling. Stop.
Missouri.
Please tell me you're joking.
It is called Missouri.
Makes it better to me.
It is called Missouri.
No way. This is a real thing?
This is a song.
Missouri.
Please tell me this does not come on the field when they are there. Stop.
When they come out in all yellow.
This is what I'm talking about. With the whole place down there. Look at that. What's that? Is that Voltron?
It's the Ryan
Please
Kelly
turn this
Morning
off.
After. Welcome to the Maggie O'Brien's 9 o'clock hour.
You're going to make me banty about all happenings Como.
Send your emails in the morning after at InsideSTL.com. for our design, air, heating, cooling email of the day, the morning after at InsideSTL.com. Well, the focus here in St. Louis, the Cardinals after the debacle, but there was another debacle, and it took place earlier in the day on Saturday. Michael, Missouri, you just heard the theme song, headed to the swamp, and Brady Cook had a pick six and then another interception deep in Florida territory, and the Fighting Tigers came up short against the Gators. Joining us here, as he does every Monday on the Ryan Kelly Morning After, presented by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, 314-961-4800. Go online at carltoninsurance.net, is the great Colonel Gabriel P.D. Arman. Good morning, Colonel.
What's up, guys? I just want to say the reaction to the song was well worth the multiple 8 to 10 second periods of complete silence, which is excellent radio.
Thank you.
No, you can't hear the song. Are what's going on? The Colonel can't hear the songs plow?
Oh no, I heard the song, but then just the discussion after the song, there was just multiple I'm just gonna sit here for 8 seconds and wait for the reaction.
Yeah, it's a Jim Rome pause that I like to try to implement sometimes. Colonel, you did not get a chance to go to the swamp. I was watching some of the postgame show. I am a huge PowerMizzou.com postgame show guy. I hate when everything works right. I really enjoy when it's more KOMU and all hell breaks loose. And this time it ran smoothly. But you were super critical of Missouri's starts to these games, and I think some of your readers took that as being too hard on Eli Drinkwitz, and that you are just down on Eli Drinkwitz in general. But I don't really know how one could be super high at this moment on Eli Drinkwitz based on what is going on and what has gone on. So what is your
I was just having this discussion on our message board, and it's not that people say it has to be all one or all the other. It either has to be, I love this guy, he's the greatest, he's going to lead us to glory, or fire. Well, there's room in there somewhere, and most of us probably fit in somewhere in that middle. And where I'm at is, look, don't fire him after this year. It would be dumb. You can't do that. But I've got to start seeing some signs that tells me this is going in the right direction. And if people are seeing them, I would love to know what they are, because I'm not really seeing them. The offense isn't good. The record is getting progressively worse year by year. And I just, we remember when Gary Pinkel early in his career got angry at fans for being happy that they only lost to Texas by 2 touchdowns, I think. And I don't think Eli Drinkwitz is happy with moral victories. I don't want it to come across that way, but I've been surprised at the number of fans that say, hey, man, they're getting pretty close. Well, that doesn't count. I mean, your competition here is the other teams in the SEC. And Georgia, I understand being encouraged by that. But Auburn is probably the 12th best team in the SEC, and they're only 12th because they beat Missouri. Florida is probably the 10th best team in the SEC. And that game that Florida played, I mean, they had 65 yards at halftime of offense. They did not look competent offensively. They came into that game as one of the 3 worst defenses in the SEC, and Missouri still couldn't do anything. So all I've said all year long is, look, there has to be tangible progress. And I'm not seeing tangible progress at this point in time. Missouri's got 6 weeks to fix that, but they now have to go, a minimum of 4-2. Vandy and New Mexico State have to be wins. So now you're in the situation where you've got to beat South Carolina, and you've got to beat either Kentucky or Arkansas just to get to 6-6, which to me is the bare minimum to feel decent about this thing.
One of the focal points coming out of Saturday is one of the focal points that has been the case really throughout the course of the season, and that's the play of the quarterback, Brady Cook. What did you think of what we saw from him on Saturday, and what do you think we will see when Missouri comes back from the bye week at quarterback when they host Vanderbilt? Any chance of Sam Horn?
Yeah, well, I've said all year that, Brady is not the guy that you're necessarily going out and asking you to win games. He's not the, probably what Florida needs Anthony Richardson to be. Go out and put up 300 yards of offense and score 4 times and carry us to a win. That's not going to be him. The problem is in the last few weeks, he's started to kind of be the reason Missouri has lost games. I mean, against Power 5 competition, he's got 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions. And, you know, the one that was taken back for a pick, the other one in the red zone, I mean, interceptions cost Missouri a minimum of 10 points in that game, and they lost by 7. You don't have to be a math major to figure it out. So he doesn't have to go out and throw for 280 and run for 100 every week, but he's got to eliminate the mistakes if he's going to continue to be the starting quarterback and if Missouri's going to be any good. Now, will they make a change? My guess is no. I don't know that, but my guess is probably not. I think fans and media, it's very easy for us to say, well, you've got to start building for next year. You know, you got to worry about this year. We don't 6-6, 4-8, whatever. It's all the same. Just start worrying about next year. Well, coaches don't do that. They don't give up on seasons before, you know, halfway through. So I don't think Drinkwitz would make a move there until 6-6 is pretty much off the table.
Yeah, Gabe, it looks like Drink has all of his guys, for the most part, I would say, all of his guys on the roster now. And you see what's been happening. Obviously, these last couple of weeks have been super challenging. Do you get a sense or do you hear anything about him losing the locker room? Do you think the players are tired of his act? Do you think that it's possible that they're not going to play as hard for him because of some of the decisions he's made?
It doesn't look like it to me yet. I mean, that's the one thing you can't say about this team in the last 3 weeks is they haven't given full effort. I mean, 2 of the 3 weeks they dug themselves a huge hole and battled back within the game. The other game was against the number 1 team in the country that they shouldn't even have been competitive with, and they led most of the game. So they're playing hard, but that is, to me, a concern is at some point, how long can you keep banging into that wall and having it not break before you just stop putting in the effort to bang into the wall again, right? So there's going to reach a breaking point. I mean, I think if they were to lose to Vandy, that would be a clear breaking point. But I'm not sure beating Vandy necessarily changes anything. But you've got to have one of these pay off, whether it's South Carolina, Kentucky, whatever. It's got to happen pretty soon. Also because there's such a difference in the 2 sides of the ball. I mean, they've got a really good defense and a really not very good offense. And at some point, and you've seen it happen in games. I mean, it happened clearly late against Georgia and late against Florida. But at some point, just in the course of the season, you worry about, the finger pointing and this chemistry breaking down if one side continues to give the team a chance to win and the other side continues to fail to take advantage of it.
Gabe Yarman brought to us by James Carlton every Monday here on the Ryan Kelly Morning After, talking it over. Now, the one thing that I will say that to me anyway, has been a pleasant surprise is what we've seen from the defense. And it continues to flash. Your thoughts on what's going on with the defense, why it's working, and what this could mean for Missouri with regards to the possibility, as weird as it might sound, that there could be another defensive coordinator need following the season, but this one would be quote-unquote good because Blake Baker would be in demand.
Yeah, I mean, they've played really well on that side of the ball. I think they've been better than the results have said. And I really don't blame them for, breaking down late against Georgia or even for Florida running for 200 yards in the second half. I mean, Missouri should have been up 2 scores at halftime in that game, and they weren't. And eventually you just kind of falter when that's the case. So the interesting part to me is not only with Baker, and I think he's done a good enough job that he will probably be in demand at some places next year. I'm not sure as a head coach, possibly as a lower level head coach, but certainly maybe as a defensive coordinator at a place that might be considered a better job than Missouri. So that'll be interesting. But the other part is, I just went through it this morning, 10 of Missouri's top 12 defensive players, in my opinion, outside of Christian Williams and Ennis Rakestraw, the other 10 all have the option to come back next year because they all still have another year due to the COVID year of eligibility. But how many of those guys do come back really will kind of set the tone for what that defense will be next year because, hey, if you get a majority of them back, and Blake Baker stays, you're going to feel pretty good about this defense going forward. But if a lot of those guys leave, whether it's for the NFL or just, hey, I've been in college 5 years, I don't really want to do it a sixth year or whatever, then you're kind of starting over on that side of the ball while you're also trying to build up the offense, and then that's obviously a pretty tough situation.
Gabe, in your mind, if Missouri loses every single game on their way to the finish line this year, what happens to this program?
Well, I mean, they're not – take New Mexico State out of that. That's the worst team probably in FBS. They're not losing that game. So, no, they're not losing that game. So, I mean, worst possible case scenario is 3-9 and 0-8. If that happens, I wouldn't fire him. I don't think they will. But obviously, hey, guys could transfer and everything could change. But I think we're kind of going down the road just to, create a controversy that I don't really think is going to exist. I mean, I think this team is a 4-8 or 5-7 team, and I'd probably lean 4-8 right now, and that's not great. But it's also not, an 8-game losing streak to end the year or whatever.
Gabe, what did you think as far as a record before the year started? Did you have a prediction what you thought they'd do?
Yeah, I was between 6-6 and 7-5. I probably believed 6-6, but I picked them 7-5 because, let's be honest, guys, if you're on the fence, picking them a game better than you think is not the worst idea in my line of work, right? I'm dealing with fans, and it's okay to try to keep those guys happy sometimes. But I probably believed 6-6, which, again, it's not totally off the table yet, but it would take something that would be a little bit surprising based on what we've seen out of this team. But I said at the beginning of the year, to show me that there is tangible progress here, I'd like to see a winning regular season record. And that is, I mean, they've got to, win out except for Tennessee for that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. And, people can here's the real issue right now for Missouri, I think. If you go back 4 years or whatever to that team Barry Odom had that was 8-5. Well, Missouri is, I don't know if you want to say they're a little bit worse, a lot worse, or the same as them, but they're not better than they were in 2018. Well, Tennessee's better. Kentucky is still as good. South Carolina looks to be better. Vanderbilt's probably getting better. Ole Miss is better. So the issue is that they've been passed by a lot of other teams improving while they really haven't yet.
Yeah, that's the thing that even if you feel like Missouri
and by the way, Illinois and Kansas.
Yes, we talked a little ILL. The Plowhawk was at his school on Saturday, his adopted school anyway. And, yes, Rock Chalk in their spot. So that's the thing that I think kind of flies under the radar because Missouri, I do feel like if Missouri had a quarterback, they really could/should be in a spot where they have one loss at this point in the season. But the bottom line is the job isn't getting done, and you have to eventually close out some of these opportunities. And as you just made reference to, even if Missouri does find that solution, it's not like these other schools in the SEC remain stagnant or fall back. Sure, some will. Look at Auburn. But, inevitably they will bounce back or they will just continue to improve. And that is the thing that stands out. Gabe DeArmond with us every Monday here on the Ryan Kelly Morning After on Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. Every Friday, he is presented to you by James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, 314-961-4800, or go online at carltoninsurance.net. James is my insurance agent, so it's easy for me to talk him up to you. You call there during business hours. Somebody in the St. Louis area right there in Webster Groves is picking up for home, for life, for auto, for the absolute best. My guy, James Carlton, is the one to switch to. They do all the paperwork for you when you make the switch. It's James Carlton, 314-961-4800, or go online at carltoninsurance.net. Colonel, we always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so much.
Sounds good, guys. We'll talk to you later.
There it is. It's Gabe DeArmond with us here, brought to you by James Carlton on the Steve Schmidt Kia of North County phone lines. Guys, what's on Wellington's left hand? Are you wearing one of Doug's mitts? Yep, there it is.
Hot take glove?
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Have we had one yet today?
Plowhawk was firing them off left and right in the
yeah, and the accuracy of them.
They were takes.
I guess we'll find out.
Monumental.
I'll give a guarantee right now.
What's that?
Mizzou won't lose this week.
Wow.
That's awesome material.
That'll play.
I might use that at 10 o'clock.
That's a bit.
That was a bit. Look at that. Michael's just...
101 would love that. They're already on pins and needles waiting for that.
I am, and I won't have Jackson to take the shrapnel today, so I'm just going in there Han Solo, and I will be eviscerated from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock.
They got to be one of the, I wouldn't say the worst. I mean, you had the Rams lead, but this is one of the worst weekends in Missouri in terms of 2 Cardinal losses to eliminate you from the playoff. Mizzou, it's just, I don't know.
I think with Missouri, I just don't think people care. Honestly, I mean, and that comes from somebody who does. I mean, relatively speaking, care. Certainly, in the average St. Louis area sports fan, I absolutely care. But it's like when they lost to Auburn. I'm like, well, that sucks. But Auburn's garbage. Gabe is kind of coming into my camp. He's like, why are people accepting or talking about progress when they keep losing? But I think it's Florida and Auburn are brands, and so it feels like you're competing on the road against brands, but they are bad football teams that used to be good football teams. That's the issue there.
And they should have won both games.
They absolutely should have won the Auburn game without question. The Florida one, they certainly could have. The Auburn one is, they're a chip shot field goal away from that one. That's yeah. I mean, they legitimately are in a spot that they could be better. When you sit there and you go, well, you're an offensive coach and you don't have a quarterback, and the offense continues to start out like this every game, it's in part coaching, and that's why Gabe is getting sideways with some of his listeners and posters on PowerMizzou.com. With regards to the Cardinals, yes, it will be a Banty festival. And I don't know what direction the anger will be. I assume it's at Marmol. Now, Buck Swope, I made reference to Buck Swope sending me an email here during the show.
I forgot about that already.
Yeah. 2009 versus 2022 parallels. Record at the All-Star break. This is from Buck P. Swope. 2009. The Cardinals were 49-42 at the All-Star break. 2022, they were 50-44. In both cases, significant acquisitions were made mid-season. Cardinals got Holiday and DeRosa in 2009. I might be leaving somebody else out, but obviously Holiday being the big one. DeRosa kind of got hurt down the stretch. And they got hot to the point where they went 3+ weeks in August and September without losing ground to their division rivals. For stretches in the second half, these teams were as fun to watch as any team in the last 20 years. The 2009 team won games on I guess that means walk-off home runs from Pujols and Holiday, plus they won a 15-inning game that Kershaw had pitched 8 scoreless, where Rasmus tied the game in the 9th and Pujols won the game in the 15th. Both teams were 77-55 at the beginning of September, and then played 500-ish the rest of the way and still finished 7 games in front of second place. Wow, Buck Swope. Final record, 2009, 91-71. 2022, 93-69. Both teams probably had the regular season MVP in the case of Pujols in 2009 and Goldschmidt in 2022. Both teams suffered brutal 9th-inning blown saves in the postseason. That is true. Matt Holliday's dropped ball, probably forgotten by a lot of people.
I remember that.
Yes, that was the Game 2 that the Cardinals were about to win. And both teams were eliminated at home the following game on a Saturday night without putting up much of a fight. Buck Swope. Parallels. Oh, that Buck Swope. Oh, that Buck Swope. Iggy, your thoughts?
Encyclopedic information.
Who cares?
Damn. Well,
Hey, you want this other glove?
I thought it was...
No, I don't care. They lost. Who cares if there was a parallels going into the playoffs in 2009?
and this the most important offseason they've had.
Yeah, the answer to your question is yes. This is, I've talked about it before, and Buck Swope. Joe Strauss was on with us. I don't know what year it was, but he was talking about how he was prepared to write a book on the Cardinals and the changes that were going to happen following the 2011 season, because you knew La Russa was going to retire. Now, you didn't know that until he did, but that was in the works before they won the World Series. And the Pujols situation. And, by the way, had they not mounted that comeback and won the wild card spot, and then, of course, gone on the run that they went in October, they would have not won a postseason game since Adam Wainwright struck out Brandon Inge in 2006. So 07, 08, the sweep in 09 that Buck Swope referenced. 2010, they weren't there. In 2011. And I think, and obviously Joe is no longer with us, but I think what he was saying is they would have parted ways with Mozeliak, which sounds incredible. But that offseason was positioned to be a huge moment for the Cardinal organization, which I always draw as parallel to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have had, if I'm not mistaken, 3 coaches since the days of Terry Bradshaw. You've had Noel, Cowher, Tomlin. In other words, this is an organization that values stability and tying generations together. Albert Pujols played with Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire came to St. Louis the year after Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith played with Keith Hernandez. Keith Hernandez played with Bob Gibson and Lou Brock. I mean, that's how quickly you can connect 50-plus years of Cardinal greatness. So, with all of that said, it was going to be a huge shift. And Plowhawk, to your point, and gentlemen, to what we've been discussing, I think that this is going to be one of the most substantial Cardinal off seasons. Not necessarily because they're going to be out going all, pre-1997 Florida Marlins, but because they have to. There has to be a shift. Molina and Pujols are gone. I think it's a coin flip as to whether or not Wainwright is back. I think, as he said, he knows the answer. He just hasn't made it public. And then you have, even if Pujols and Molina were coming back, you have shortstop question. You have the Arenado opt-out. Like I said, I think he will wind up signing an extension. But, hey, Plowhawk doesn't think he's gonna come back. And then no matter what, Molina, Pujols, Wainwright, Arenado, shortstop, all of that, then you have this entire outfield. Holy crap. And now Ali Marmol goes from a guy who people are just like, oh, okay, to he cost us game 1. A lot of people will feel that way. So you have a lot of questions. So to answer your question, yes, I would say this is the most significant offseason of the Cardinals during the 21st century. And I don't even really know how it could be anything other than that, minus what you had in 2011 that I talked about with Pujols and Tony La Russa.
And I only see the Arenado thing, and I would be just look. He could leave, he could go. I don't think I would be surprised with either option because it's his life, and if he wants to play out the rest of the 4 years wherever, fine. But what he said, I don't know how long ago it was. Was it 2 months ago, 3 months ago? That soundbite of I didn't come here to just play in wild card games or just make the playoffs. I came here for deep playoff runs. Again, I'm paraphrasing what the exact quote was.
It was important for him to win a division title.
Yeah,
which they did.
But I just don't. If that's your goal, then fine. Go for it. Make your $35 million. It just, to me, seems like he's so adamant on finishing his career, whether it be in a CS or a World Series, winning a ring. I think that's important to him. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen in St. Louis, but I'm saying the track record the last few years, it's certainly doesn't look great, especially with the roster that's coming back next year. So that's the only reason why. I'm not saying he doesn't love St. Louis or didn't have. He had a 30 and 100 guy. I mean, he's going to be for the next couple of years. It's not going to change wherever he plays. I just think when he puts an onus on winning in this stage of his career, and I don't know where that falls.
Which is why I think one of the conversations will be, what are we going to do here? Yeah. Now, he wasn't around in 19, but 2019 they lost because of offense. Their best offensive player, as weird as it might sound, was Marcell Ozuna. Well, he left after 2019. And they didn't do anything to tend to the offense 2019 to 2020, but it was softened, as was everything, because of COVID, and there wasn't really a season. But I recall, and I've said this a bunch for those of you who listen to the show religiously, that I was looking forward to this conversation I was going to have with John Mozeliak at spring training in 2020, and he agreed we were going to have the conversation because I wanted to know why they didn't tend to the offense after 2019. You lost Ozuna, but you didn't replace that bat. And it's not like he was the second coming, but my God, what are you doing? I don't know. I still don't know what that was about. I don't have an answer because we had the pandemic, and that was that. So now you have Arenado along with it. But the offense and the outfield's offense has been a problem now for a number of years. They thought they had the long-term offense for this organization, I remember being at spring training. There's a picture of us with Tommy Pham, Stephen Piscotty, and Randall Grichuk. Well, that's all over, and it never took. All were traded away. Piscotty's circumstances certainly unique with his mom's ALS, but Grichuk didn't take. Pham didn't take. Now he bounces around. And now, going into this year, O'Neill, Bader, Carlson. Who can you feel good about of those three? One's in New York. I don't know where O'Neill is health-wise. He was in the Arizona Fall League this past weekend. And Dylan Carlson couldn't even start. Couldn't start on Saturday night. And by the way, I think it was the right decision. But that's eye-opening, especially considering, John Mozeliak was aware that he was involved in the Juan Soto reports and went up to him in Washington before that series and said, "You're not going anywhere." He was the hyped guy. And, at this point, you got enough of a sample size now to go, okay, this is a little bit of a concern. So there are some big names coming up. You have Walker, you have Wynn, you have Burleson. Burleson did not make the postseason roster, though. When Dan McLaughlin was on with me on 101, he thought Burleson could be a kind of a pick-to-click guy. It wound up being Yepez. Great. Maybe Yepez is an answer. But you have a lot of questions. This is the biggest amount of questions this organization has had since 2000. And they don't have the equity of 2011's World Series. They have a lot of anger after the best-of-3 series. Let me ask you guys this. This is certainly something I'm going to talk about in a half hour when I do a balloon party. What are your thoughts now that the wild card round is complete about this portion of the new playoff format?
Dumb.
Okay.
You win a division, you shouldn't have a wild card. I don't know.
So
you think you should be rewarded?
So the Guardians won. They took 15 innings to get it. I think like 3 runs were scored or 4 runs were scored in that entire series, by the way, with the Guardians and the Rays. So they advance, winning the American League Central, and they got to deal with the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the Yankees are the 2 seeds, so it'll be the Guardians, the Yankees, and the Astros play the Mariners. And then you have the Cardinals winning their division. They're gone. And the Mets, which looked like the team that was going to win the National League East, they're gone. Although I think the Padres are, God, I don't know. I know it might sound weird because you look at the Dodgers win total, but I just don't know the health of the Dodgers starting staff. I wonder what the numbers are on the gambling there. I think the Padres, that's why I bet them. I think the Padres could very well win the National League. The team that catches my attention is the Braves more than the Dodgers. So with that all said, what do you think, Michael?
I mean, I don't mind the new format. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I think it's more baseball, wouldn't you say?
It is, but
so if you're a junkie,
but you play 162 games and then in 48 hours,
True. I just like playoff baseball so much. Like I'll end up watching a lot of these games, even though the Cardinals aren't involved. Just because I enjoy the fact that not that the pitches and at bats don't matter in the regular season. I just think it's just there's a lot more drama and there's a lot more people that can be clutch, and playoff baseball is just more fun in general. So I like more of it.
Oh God! Wow.
What do you see in a number?
The Dodgers are minus 245 and the Padres are plus 180.
Well,
the Tam Avenue Capital Partners might be activated. Although I already have the Padres to win the National League and the Padres to win the World Series, and I got that at plus 2,800. I think plus 1,600 I'll win the National League, so I'm already invested. Yeah, I mean, you can talk about the 100 and whatever the hell they wound up with 10, 11 regular season wins, but you saw Musgrove last night, if anybody was watching it. I don't know how many people watched it. Yeah, okay. You have Snell. You have Darvish. You have Clevenger. I realize the Dodgers have the wins, and they have a ridiculous lineup, but the Padres are legit. The Padres are legit. The thing that I'm anxious to see, so 3 of 4 road teams won these series. And it's not like the Rays were out of that series. They were winning 1-0 in the 8th, I believe, 7th or 8th, when Jose Ramirez hit his 2-run home run in the Friday game. And then, like I said, the one went to 15 innings on Saturday. So 3 of the 4 lower seeds win this weekend. How will the off days treat the Yankees, Braves, Dodgers, and Astros? Mm-hmm. Because historically in baseball, a series of off days, and it'll be 6 off days, have not necessarily been beneficial. The 2006 Detroit Tigers being one of the great examples of that. So is it really a reward? The Cardinals had the home games, wasn't a reward. The Mets had the home games, wasn't a reward. Blue Jays had the home games, wasn't a reward. So you play 162 games, and 3 of the 4 higher seeds are already home.
I tell you who I love to watch. It's the Seattle Mariners, man, and they may just get trounced in the next series, but they have a young core. They know how to spend money. I watched that comeback in Toronto. That was beautiful. That team's fun to watch. I don't know what their number is in terms of winning the AL. I mean, I know it'll be difficult.
Which one are you talking about?
Seattle.
Seattle?
I love Seattle. I think that team is so fun to watch. And that's what baseball should be. The Cardinals bore the hell out of me. Both games were really boring. Again, analytics and I don't get into the nerddom as much as, a lot of people do. But I like high-scoring games where just, big name-brand guys are actually, doing what they're supposed to do. And that series was so fun.
Mariners are plus 1,300, by the way, to win the World Series. The Padres are the lowest odds, lack of a better term, as in the Guardians are the highest at plus 1,800. The Padres of the teams that won this weekend are the lowest odds. They're plus 1,000 now to win the World Series. And to win the National League, the Padres are plus 400. The Dodgers are plus 130. God, I would short the Dodgers. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but when you have, I think the Phillies could give the Dodgers a run, much less the Braves, Padres as well. I just don't know what the health of the pitching is with Los Angeles. And I also think here's the other thing, by the way. Once the Cardinals are done, a lot of people in St. Louis go, okay, that's it. They're not locked in to watching those games. And the Blues happen to start here on Saturday, and I know most of the members of the dais in here have very little interest in,
Who are they?
a mid-October game against the Columbus Blue Jackets to start the season. But there certainly are people who turn the issues now. There's no NFL team. Missouri's garbage. Now I guess he can invest in ILL.
Had it really been into it if the Blues could have played in that, whatever that thing is called over there, Federation Cup over there in Prague.
Where they're what they're doing.
You talking about where the Predators were?
Yeah. I think was it Prague? Was it Czechoslovakia they're playing?
Yeah, hockey to me, I don't follow it.
I don't even think it was a real series. It was still preseason. And you're sending them over there to play?
Can I say on the Phillies, Aaron Nola is freaking good. And his
I'll
stats.
watch him pitch
I don't
again.
watch any Philly game. This is the first Philly game that he is, if he's not a top 10 pitcher, he's a top 15 guy. Like, that dude can pitch. So the Phillies, I don't think they have a huge chance to go to the World Series. But if you ride one dude like that in October baseball, you can get a long way.
See, I don't know how much of that was Nola and Wheeler and how much of that was the Cardinal lineup and Goldschmidt not being right. And Arenado laid into a ball off a Wheeler. I know you're talking about Nola. I think, and I could be wrong, I suppose, I don't know what the conditions were in Cleveland. Obviously not optimal for scoring in those games. But any other ballpark hosting a playoff series this year, Nolan Arenado's ball off Wheeler is gone. Albert Pujols' first at bat was ripped. I don't know if it would have gone out. So I just don't know how much of that was Nola. I felt like Nola dealt with more trouble, albeit minimal, than Wheeler. And don't get me wrong, he was pitching a perfect game into the 7th inning against the Astros last Tuesday. He is legit. Cardinals roughed him up the one time they saw him this year, whereas Wheeler shut him out the entire time he faced him this year. And I don't know if it was 2 or 3 starts, certainly 2. But the Cardinals just didn't hit.
Nola had some defense behind him in that second game.
Bohm was sick.
That third
Bohm was sick.
Yeah.
Bohm was sick. He was outstanding.
Because Arenado had a frozen rope to him.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous
So
play.
that's nice
Arenado, that's the thing, man. He hit the ball hard.
Mm-hmm.
Goldschmidt was just... But Arenado whiffed too. He struck out as well.
Do you see these teams, the home teams you mentioned, losing these series, the Mets, the Cardinals? Do you feel like, is there something going on where there's more pressure now on the home teams? You saw it when the Blues won the Stanley Cup. I don't know if that's a real thing or not. You would think the home field advantage, but I had a lot of people texting me during the second Cardinal game, like how quiet it was.
Well, once Harper hit that home run, it quieted the ballpark.
Totally.
And that is why... Nootbaar leads off the game with what was ruled a single and an error. I would have scored that a double, but whatever. Marsh misplayed it in center field. If Albert Pujols is able to drive him in, how that changes things. And yes, Harper hits a home run theoretically if everything plays out the same way in the second inning, but still it's not 1-0, because I know a lot of people were thinking, oh God, is that one run going to be enough to win this thing? And that silenced the ballpark. I think in the case of the Mets and Padres, again, it wouldn't add up if you look at the records. The Padres are the better team. I think if they play a best of 7, I think the Padres win that. Phillies and Cardinals, total toss-up. For the record, the Cardinals were the only team that wasn't a favorite in Game 1 that was a home team. I think, and I talked about this on both TMA and 101, I think the Cardinals' struggles in September flew under the radar because of the Pujols thing and because there was no pennant race. So I think a lot of people in St. Louis are experiencing a crash that wasn't really a crash. This was a bit on brand for what they had become over the last 5 or 6 weeks because of Goldschmidt's struggles. I mean, most valuable player is the literal term of the award, and he became a liability. But yet he will be, or will at the very least be, top 3 in the MVP race, and he didn't do anything in that series. And he struck out, too. So, I think a lot of people just were thinking, okay, this is the Cardinal team I saw in August, and then when they showed up in October, thought it would be the same thing, and it wasn't. Plus, you throw in Wheeler and Nola. But, what if they would have been facing, take your pick, what if it would have been Scherzer and DeGrom? What if it would have been Darvish and Snell and Musgrove? Would it have been any better? This is the deal. They don't throw out the Reds and Pirates and the Cubs in the playoffs. So you can't have your balls tickled all year long by those 18 games against those 3 teams. I mean, it's 54 games against those teams, and then all of a sudden go, what happened to the offense? The offense has been bad against quality pitching throughout the course of the year. So this is kind of who they were, because you had 2 guys hitting, and then Pujols emerged, but while he emerged, minus the month of August, Goldschmidt and Arenado weren't hitting. And then who else hits? I mean, Yepez and Gorman were responsible for the RBIs in the postseason. That's it. That's just not going to get it done, And that's why it goes as peacefully as it did. They were put to sleep, and so were the fans.
What kind of options or situations can we exercise to find a catcher? What can we do?
I'm looking at the free agent market is crazy this offseason. Like, there are some players.
Contreras will be a Cardinal.
Contreras is about the
you
only
mentioned him.
one you could find a positive in terms of catching. Now, it'll probably cost you $16 million a year, so maybe you go value more so in that spot. But, I mean, Aaron Noah, we did talk about him. He's a free agent. I mean, you got a ton of pitchers on the back end of the day. You're probably not going to get a Verlander type. I mean, he's probably going to want...
I'll tell you this. Here's one thing, if you want to take a silver lining from it. But at the same time, I was so wrong from 2019 to 2020 that the Cardinals didn't go out and get offense, and I was so wrong 2021 to 2022 on the Cardinal free. I mean, what would the Cardinals do last offseason? Nurse,
nothing.
Steven Matz and Albert Pujols.
Packy Naughton, I thought, or one of them.
Packy was in there. You're right. My point being, they just haven't done much. Now, at the trade deadline this year, they went out and got Quintana and Montgomery, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that. I think they should have tended to the offense. That was something they said throughout the course of the whole thing. But I was thrilled that they went out and got 2 pitchers like that because they really were coming at it, but they didn't tend to the offense, and it wound up burning them, although I don't know how much it would have made a difference. I'll say this. Because it ended the way that it ended, and also because of Arenado's situation, I think it may finally put them in a spot where they have to be aggressive this offseason. And I think Arenado might force their hand if he does indeed sign, or if he doesn't opt out, or if he just signs an extension, which is what I think will happen, that they can't sit back. Arenado is not going to waste the final, 4 or 5 great years of his career with that kind of offense, with question marks, or let's hope on guys who are prospects. Dylan Carlson was a glamorous prospect a couple of years ago. He was the guy going into 2020 that the Cardinals were hyped on. I would imagine at this particular moment, and I realize it's on the heels of him not starting Game 2 of a best-of-3 series in which the Cardinals were down 1-0, most people would sell their stock on him. But part of, profiting is making the play before everybody else sees the play. And now the Cardinals are in a spot where Dylan Carlson is a question mark. And I can't imagine that Nolan Arenado is going, okay, well, we got Carlson, so we're good there. I'm sure he's going, oh, he got Goldschmidt, but he's 36 in 2023. It's a problem. Who's our catcher? We're not doing the thing where Paul DeYoung's next to me again. That's over. You know, that's got to stop. I would imagine he's traded. Who else is in the outfield? So I think the fact that it ended this way and Arenado has leverage, that may force the Cardinals to actually be aggressive. All right, we got to do the design, air, heating, and cooling email of the day. Before we do that, I would like to tell the people about Stratum Structural Systems. Brett Groman and Matt Ford at Stratum Structural Systems, 314-620-8153. That is the number to call, 314-620-8153. Stratum Structural Systems. Go online at stratumrepair.com if you're dealing with any waterproofing needs or any foundation repair needs. They have over 5 decades of combined structural experience in basement waterproofing and foundation repair. For basement crack repair, for foundation piering, for settling homes, for bowing or rotating wall repairs, for basement waterproofing services like sump pumps, interior and exterior drainage solutions, egress window installation, concrete leveling, and downspout extensions. It's Stratum. They're in Chesterfield, Missouri, and Columbia, Illinois. It's Stratum Structural Systems, 314-620-8153. Stratum Structural Systems, a wonderful sponsor of the Ryan Kelly Morning After, just like Centric and Patrick Nealon. Patrick Nealon is somebody I got to play golf with a couple weeks ago. Michael, he can roll the rock. Maybe we can add him. Maybe Wellington can take on a sixum, or Nagel can take on a sixum on Wednesday, and we can have Patrick Nealon out there rolling the rock.
Bring them all. Bring everybody you want out there.
Cybersecurity is the most exciting career in technology and one of the most in demand. Centric can train you for a career in cybersecurity, and they can do it in just 4 months. Centric's hands-on program teaches you the actual job skills you need to get started. No history, no biology, just technology. That's how they do it in just 4 months, even if you have no IT experience. And you can do it online, you can do it in person, you can do it in the evenings, or you can do it during the day, whichever works best for you. If you're interested in a career in cybersecurity, call Patrick Nealon at Centric Training today. He'll walk you through Centric's cutting-edge program and show you everything Centric does to help get you started in your new IT career. Call 314-450-4714 or go to centric.com/STL. That's CNTRIQ.com/STL. Cybersecurity is a problem for every business in St. Louis. You can be part of the solution. Coming up 10 o'clock, Balloon Party on 101 ESPN. Text in there 65780 or leave a mic drop like Stephen Wildwood most likely has on the 101 ESPN app. And boys, what do we have coming up on Pepper and Genie?
Well, Iggy missed a fantastic House of the Dragons episode, but I've done that as well. I've missed it. So we are going to talk about stuff.
Stuff.
It's going to be a potpourri topics, and we're going to kind of do our thing and, be natural.
Potpourri topics?
Potpourri of
nice.
topics. Thank you. You
You guys could cover potpourri. I'm very confident.
Are you going to join, Michael?
I don't have any plans to, but certainly we could discuss it.
I think you got that call.
You have a phone call coming?
I do love that.
I have a sound story coming up at noon. If you would like a sound story, mysoundstory.com. Me, Doug, Jackson, Learn, all available to do interviews. mysoundstory.com. Meadowbrook member Mr. 63011. He's on his phone again, Tim. Tell Elmer Fudd to keep engaged. It's your job, Ken. That's from Meadowbrook member Mr. 63011.
Well, listen, Riverside member.
Wow.
Well, he's not a Meadowbrook member.
He is not.
Tim was doing 2 live spots, so I checked email. How about that? Every once in a while, we get some Hubbard emails throughout the morning that I looked at. So sorry I did that. And mind your own business.
Nice.
Take that.
Seriously. Stop worrying about what I do during the show.
How dare he?
Stop talking. Oh, he's on a break, man. Put your phone down. Pay attention. He's never happy. I talk too much. I don't talk enough.
The sass.
Get out of the studio. Where are you? Why aren't you in the studio?
The sass.
Just, God,
Is Meadowbrook member new?
Mr. 63011. Yeah, he's the one who said he birdied number 4, 258 on. And he's going to keep an eye on Iggy on Wednesday to make sure he keeps his card on the path.
258 back right hole location, right?
Yeah, what
That's
that
what he
means,
said.
Michael, is he's actually not a member. I think that's believable.
What are you hitting 258 on downhill back right pin?
3-wood.
You're going 3-wood?
Sure. I mean, I know that hole. Yeah, I'd probably hit 3-wood there.
Be driver, and I'd probably be 30 short.
Yeah, I'd close my eyes and just bomb a drive.
I could be 40 short. I'll just knock it 40
it's
short.
not
and then
that
make
much
par.
downhill. can't wait to see what happens on Wednesday.
We'll get at least par because
we'll get at least par.
Yeah, because
I might
worst
take
case
a
scenario.
separate bet on that alone.
Oh, I'll make a par myself.
Oh, well.
Worst case scenario, I hit it 218 to the 40 out. 50,
Okay.
54 degree
Get it
one
to your
putt.
number. Okay, now that makes sense. That's good strategy.
I just went to the filtered file and I realized with Jackson not here, nothing has been filtered and all hell's about to break loose. It's time for the Design Air Heating and Cooling email of the day. Plowhawk, keep your finger on the delay button because I have no idea what I'm about to read.
I'm a pro. I got you.
Grab your popcorn because this is the email you want. Wellington, more like I've got some swellington going on in my pant because daddy like. Now, to parallels. And only thing that parallels Tim's past shows is today's show. Because in every one of them, he was phenomenal. But you know what sells? Sex. Especially with these email of the day judges. And you know who I always thought was sexy? My Uncle Skip's drinking buddy Tony's cousin Spike. Although he never dated, I watched him satisfy enough random drunk dudes he had picked up at Springdale Pool Bar and brought home to my aunt's trailer bordering the floodplain. Lots of screaming. Not Jeffrey Dahmer torture screamings. A holy sheep doo-doo, this Spike guy must have acromegaly of the penis because that thing is a monster screaming. Winner, winner, chicken dinner because those drunken bastards were more than satisfied when they left. That's from Rock My Ass.
Nice. I like the beginning to that.
Kevin Miller.
Wellington.
I just wanted to see if Plow Douche was filtering emails. That's from Oil Can Boyd. You remember him with the Red Sox in '86?
He was outstanding.
That's a player. That's a good email.
Good morning. Does the Deus have something against Spaniard golfers? No? Then why the hell did you not spend a single second on the Live Golf Tournament? We had to sit through 2 hours of Cardinal talk so that Tim can work out the kinks in his hot takes before he gets pummeled by the 101 ESPN texters. Save it for Balloon Party, for Christ's sakes. And say the man's name, damn it. Eugenio?
I still don't know how to do that.
Lopez Chacara?
I can't believe that's his first.
This 22-year-old rising superstar just won $5 million in Bangkok, and you guys had the nerve to talk about Iggy's failed bowling team for the 1,000th time. And lastly, Welly, your Live Golf takes on Friday were boring as hell. Have an opinion, you coward, and be better if you want to be part of the Tim Podcast Network that these other producers get a free ride on. Love always. That's from Mr. Licks.
I do have to ask Tim, do you practice material on here for 101?
I do. I kind of call this the dress rehearsal, and then I go down there.
Free ride
an hour at midday.
Free ride is correct. Plowsy and I don't get paid for Pepperoncini.
We do.
Wow, there you go.
Just for the love of the game.
We love the game.
And congrats to him. He left Oklahoma State a year early and thought he made a bad decision after his first 4 outings, and now look at him.
You're talking about Chikara.
Yeah, his best finish was 24th out of 48 players, and lo and behold, he goes out and wins, and a $5 million payday for the guy.
Hey, guys, an injustice was served today, and I can't sit by and let it slide. In the waning minutes of the 8:20 a.m. o'clock hour, Mugatu was able to successfully slither his way out of Wellington's line of questioning regarding the infamous career of Fontbonn's former women's head bowling coach, Coach Ken Strode.
Oh, it's the women's team? I didn't know that.
Somebody just said that we spent too much time talking about it, and this guy says I ignored it, which I did.
Mugatu might be.
Mugatu. Ansel's so hot right now. For me, this is a no-brainer selection for Ken's Mount Rushy of show-related controversies. Wellington, if you have time, the cat's deposition of Fontbonn's athletic director and the founding father of the Fontbonne bowling team is piss your pants funny. Thanks. That's from Dogtown Ty, newfound Wellington Lemming. Wow.
To each their own.
How did they find you to do that job for the ladies at Fontbonne?
I was actually asked by B.J. Raines' brother. Mike Raines was on the team.
I thought it was a women's team.
Well, it was a men and a women's team. I did both.
It was co-ed?
You coached both?
2 teams?
2 different teams. Yeah.
Did they pay you accordingly?
It's unheard of. It's like if Drink starts coaching the basketball team.
Yeah.
Or the softball team.
Yeah, we practiced together. And then...
Did they pay you for this?
Yes.
Right.
It's a sore subject.
Sorry.
No, I'm just because this guy said talk about it for the 19th time. I'm not going to talk about it for the 19th time.
A poem entitled Mud Party. Oh, the mud, it sits betwixt my youthful thighs. The mud is real, the mud it feels so good upon mine eyes. The mud is wet, the mud is firm, it's squishy in mine hand. I paint thine uncle's chest with it, his nerves are looking grand. My mud is heavy, the mud I leave when my hole is in its place. This poem was written for you, Welly, now please sit atop my face. That's from TMA Poet Laureate. How is it to be hit on by these gentlemen?
It's eye-opening.
Did you say mud in my face?
I believe so.
My eye?
Yep.
God, that'd be a bad beat.
Sup, slicks and slides, cards shipped hard, beers chugged, cheesesteaks guzzled. The year's 2032, and we go live in the studio. Looks, it's Iggy still on the air with his smoker grumble, humble bragging about his 40-yard pin shots that was really 15 yards. Okay, great. Legends never die, right? Welly, make me so swelly. Plowsy toking, Timmy the king, me just horny. Tease it, please it, and feed it. Get it, got it, Flocky the Smurf. P.S. Today's safe word is burrito. Burrito.
Who was that?
That is Flocky the Smurf.
Flocky the Smurf. Okay.
And that's it, I think.
That was pretty good.
Well, there was no filtered file, so I just went in there and I just read.
Respect.
And nobody violated any FCC rules, so I think we're safe. I think.
That was pretty good.
Michael Wellington, you get to lead things off.
The Warson Woods wacko will not be pleased with me, but I'm going to go with Mr. Licks.
Mr. Licks.
What was his email?
He was not happy that we didn't talk about the Live golf tournament.
Oh, too bad. Yeah, normally I would say process of elimination Kevin Miller because none of them are any good. But, you know, every once in a while I like a good mud story. So I'm going to go with Poet Laureate.
Iggy, is it difficult that these listeners are and these call-ins and texts are not on your level? Is it hard?
Level of what?
Just life.
Talent.
Yeah.
I'm sure they all got more important and exciting lives than I do. But I'm
That's
happy
not
with,
true.
I'm happy with what I do.
I'll go
which
with
is nothing.
Dogtown Ty, Newfound Wellington Lemming, Plowhawk, the Speaker of the House.
Dude, Mugatu gonna get you the win. Dogtown Tie.
Dogtown Ty!
That line
Shit!
is so good.
The Design Air Heating and Cooling email today. Well, boys, I have my head down low because I'm about to be blamed for the Cardinals losing to the Philadelphia Phillies.
It's all your fault.
For the next hour.
don't envy
You boys are just doing a potpourri grab bag on Pepper and Genie.
Come on, man. It'll be exciting. Wellington, if you need to take that call, we understand.
And I'm still waiting for, what's his name, who said I won't get the interview on Thursday?
The Maitland Ward interview?
Yeah.
Oh, Steve the Butt Pirate.
Yeah, go ahead.
But
and
I
put
think his bet was that you'd get it by September.
No, somebody just texted today and
that's a
said
different
that's
one.
not
Yeah,
going
you're
to
right.
happen. So
That's right.
Just go ahead and put some money up and.
There you go. Another win. All right, Pepper and Genie coming up next. Michael Wellington back again tomorrow. Doug back on Wednesday. Time for hopefully Jackson's feeling better. I know he got a COVID test and it was negative, so that's good news for Action Jackson. Rockio will join me for Balloon Party next, for the Plowhawk, for Action Jackson, who is ill, for Kenneth Iggy Strode, for my brother Kevin, for Michael Wellington filling in for the vacationing Douglas Selvin Vaughn. I'm Tim McKernan. This has been the Ryan Kelly Morning After from the Michelob Ultra Studios, closing out the Maggie O'Brien's 9 o'clock hour.